Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Hang Up here. It's Wednesday evening right here on the Line Network. By the way, the Line has a podcast. You can find that out by joining the Patreon and getting more information. There'll be moderators in chat that can post links to stuff. There's information down below here. Oh, by the way, is that war in Ukraine still going on? I thought we were going to fix that like day one. We didn't even fix it week one. Do you think we'll fix it month one? Maybe year one? It's kind of weird. Hey, are the price of eggs still high? Are they going? We haven't fixed that either. Well, after he said he'd fix this stuff right away, he started to suggest that maybe it was hard. So, I think we lost about $1 trillion in tech stock value in the past few days because of a Chinese AI that does something faster, more efficiently, and for less money. And I think NVIDIA tanked and others did as well. I noticed that the president just settled a lawsuit where he was suing Meta for defamation. And they've decided to settle by giving Trump $25 million, with 22 of that million going directly to his presidential library. I wonder if the presidential library for Trump is going to be gold-plated. It's funny because I was also avoiding the RFK Jr. confirmation hearing today, but I caught some notes on it afterwards. I think if you're one of the people who watch like Brian Tyler Cohen, I'm tired of the clickbaits of saying, oh, he lied. He definitely misrepresented his position, but so did the people asking him questions. And so he was at least smart enough to couch his things as, we think maybe that these things are turning kids trans, and we think maybe these things could be doing this and could be doing that. But at the end of the day, RFK Jr. is an anti-science buffoon who I wish one of the people kind of confirming him, or hopefully not confirming him, had just asked him, Mr. Kennedy, you have a number of different views that are wildly different from what the scientific consensus is. Why is your view different from the scientific consensus? What information do you have that the consensus of scientists who are experts in these areas don't have? Or is there some other nefarious thing going on? I want him to say, if this is a conspiracy amongst every scientist in every field that disagrees with him on every fucking position he has, or is he just an armchair Dunning-Kruger expert spouting what he thinks happens in order to get attention? Elizabeth Warren asked him if he would vow to not take a job in the private sector related to this. By the way, Trump evidently turned off federal funding for things like SNAP and other benefits. And that had a bunch of his fuck around and find out supporters whining and crying that they weren't going to be able to feed their kids. And so then Trump reversed that decision. And then his press secretary played an Uno double reverse. And no, that's not what it means, at least in the way she's spinning it. And now it's so confusing. I have no idea what's going on, who's getting benefits, who's not, it doesn't make any sense. Also, they're planning to open up Guantanamo as a detention center for 30,000 immigrants. And Trump is planning on, they're going to use a federal building in downtown Austin also for immigrants. And Trump's even suggesting that we should be deporting U.S. citizens, not just any old U.S. citizens, but prisoners, convicted felons of particularly egregious crime, after he complained about other countries supposedly sending their prisoners to us. Now he wants to expand the industrial prison complex that we have in the United States in order to ship our worst offenders to other countries and then make them somebody else's problem, something that is absolutely illegal as these people are citizens. The fact that somebody's committed a crime and winds up a felon and goes to prison, something that the current president, a 34-time felon, is not going to have to suffer. He's a felon. He's not going to go to prison. But the fact that they're in prison doesn't change the fact that they're still citizens, and they are, expected and afforded certain rights and privileges. All of the rights and privileges of citizenship, other than the ones we've specifically restricted, like whether or not they can vote. There are some conspiracy theory rumors, and I'm not going to dig in on them in detail, but there are people that are suggesting that maybe Trump is trying to tank the U.S. economy so that his billionaire friends can buy it all up. Now, I don't think that's a Trump plan because Trump's an idiot. Trump's incredibly stupid. But he's useful. He's a useful enough idiot so that if any of those billionaires had that as a plan, it might work. And whether they had it as a plan or not, it might still work. And it doesn't matter what the plan is if that's the direction it's freaking going. Meanwhile, I put out a thing denouncing Luigi's slaughter of a CEO and how it's being celebrated by the left. And my comments section goes nuts with people like, oh, no, this is a bad take from you, Matt. You're wrong. I've agreed with you on all kinds of stuff. But, we're in an oligarchy now. There's no other option. There's no other option but to run around killing CEOs. And I'm like, there's plenty of options. There aren't good options. And I agree the system's broken. And they're like, well, you say you understand, but if you really understood, you would agree. No, my heart attack and the bypass would have bankrupted me. And considering how many years I spent without health care, despite the fact that I'm an 8+ year veteran of the United States military, is an embarrassment. I know. Does that mean I'm suffering the worst of it right now? No. Nope. It's wild. Now, right in chat, we've got somebody who's like, free Luigi. No. He killed someone, and assuming that he did it and is convicted of it, he should suffer the penalty for it. By the way, Luigi's efforts, while the system is horribly broken, did nothing to fix it, nothing to change it. I have a fan who's in my Twitch stream who works for that healthcare company. They had a new CEO in no time. No policies changed. No revolution started. No policies changed. It didn't fix a fucking thing, and everybody should know that it's not going to fix a thing. This is not how vigilante justice goes. Is there going to be a point where we end up in a civil war? Is there going to be a point where there's a violent revolution to overthrow things? Perhaps. I have no idea, and I have no idea exactly when it's justified. But unilateral slaughtering of another human being because you think the system's unfair, and you think that they're a risk, and you think that they are directly responsible for hurting people, now puts you in the category of being a risk who hurts people. And that means that the same rationale that Luigi used to slaughter somebody, can be used to slaughter him as well. When you live outside the law, you no longer have the protections of it. Is there a moment for violence? You bet. Absolutely. Unequivocally. There's some moment for violence. But laughing or applauding a unilateral decision to kill someone because you like what you thought the results were going to be is embarrassingly bad. And what I think is that most of the people who are applauding this are worse than keyboard warriors and keyboard activists, because this isn't an action they would actually do themselves. They're just kind of glad somebody else did it and they don't have to feel any responsibility for it. And it's not a big deal. I don't mourn the loss of the CEO. I mourn the death of humanism. I mourn the death of ethical responsibility, of due process. And yep, it's bad. And we are going to have to make some serious changes. And there's probably, Andrew Seidel and I were talking about whether or not it's going to be civil war. Is there going to be a revolution? I don't know. But if we start off by just saying, yep, every, lone gunman who feels wronged should be justified as long as they're opposing the things that I like, you've set a flawed system. You set up boundaries that can't protect you or anybody else. I was in the military for 8.5 years. It's embarrassing how much time I spent without health care. It's embarrassing how bad the diabetes got. It is sad that it led to heart attacks and other things. There are many, many, many different views on religion. Some of them you don't need to call in and talk to me about. If you think that, the universe is conscious, cool. I don't know why you think that. I might be interested, but generally speaking, those types of calls don't do us any good. But if you believe in a God that has some goal or desire for a human being that cares about what we do, the title that we put on today's episode is Would God Approve of the Current USA? And by that, I'm saying, does the God that you believe in, would they approve of the direction the United States is going? Is the USA on the right track? Because so far, despite all the competing views about gods and what people suspect they want, no God has stepped up to offer a single thought about what they want about the world, at least in no way that we can tell. So, as always, theist callers are going to get priority. We want to take calls. There are some topics that I may not want to go into much at all tonight, just out of frustration of there being too many broken executive orders, too much wrong with the world right now, and no clear solution on how to fix it, other than to continue moving forward to change elections in the future to the extent that we're able to. But in the meantime, if you think that God is happy with the way the U.S. is going, let us know that and why you think so. And if you think God is upset with the way the U.S. is going, let us know why you think that too. And be prepared to say, not just, here's what I think God is, but here's why I think I'm right. Here's my justification for thinking there is a God who cares and thinks this. Because despite the number of years that I was a sincere, Bible-believing, Southern Baptist fundamentalist Christian, I don't think a God exists. And if a God exists, I don't see any evidence that they've communicated with anybody about anything. So all I have is a bunch of people telling me what they think God likes. And what many of them seem to have done is vote against their own interest and vote against what they even think God would want. Now, I know there's a handful of people who are, yep, let's end LGBTQ rights. God wants to get rid of all that stuff because God's absolutely more obsessed with what you do in the bedroom and with your naughty bits than he is about whether or not people can afford to eat or whether or not they're going to have health care, whether or not we have a system that promotes something close to, even marginally close to, a basic universal income for people, basic benefits and health care. I've seen no God do anything for anybody. And if you think God's doing a powerful work somewhere, make the case for it. Joining me tonight to take your questions, engage in a much better way than I probably will. Please welcome Promise, also from Eve Was Framed. How are you?
Hello. I don't think I'm going to do any better or even as good, but I'm excited to be here and take some calls and see what people have to say. I know I've had a lot of theists the last couple of days saying, I want to debate you. Why won't you debate me? And I've told them to call the show tonight. So if they're listening, I hope that they will take me up on that and actually call and give their answers for why I'm so deeply wrong about the claimless things I have said.
About everything. We're deeply
Right.
wrong about everything. When you were
exactly.
a believer, like if I jump back into my Southern Baptist hat,
Mhm.
I would definitely say my view then was that God would not be happy with the United States right now, but he probably would be happy with the direction that like Project 2025 is trying to take it, because my views aligned much more with Project 2025. Was your view of God one that would have been like, oh yeah, we're back on track now?
If you had asked me when I was younger, I grew up, with this Christian nationalist idea, and I would have thought this is great. Project 2025 is what we want. I would have been thrilled about Roe v. Wade being overturned. That's what we were praying for every day. But then in my early 20s, a few years before I completely deconverted, it wasn't adding up. I had friends now that were queer or that were immigrants or just anybody different than me. And suddenly I was like, wait, if God and Jesus are how I hope that they are, then they would be deeply upset with how America is, with what's going on, and especially with Trump, which is what caused me to start asking more and more questions about this God character. And of course, here I am now helping host. on an atheist show. So a lot of
It's
those questions
amazing
got
how that
answers,
works.
and they weren't good answers.
The people who I think, granted, I've done lots of shows over the past we're coming up on 21 years. And I love the fact that most of the people that I've been lucky enough to do the shows with have different styles, different thoughts, and yet we're kind of on similar pages, in part because I'm not going to have a co-host that vehemently disagrees with me on something significant unless we've just decided we're not going to talk about it during the show, because it becomes a distraction. We should be, and by the way, not all of us agree on all kinds of things. I still want to sit down with, I love Forrest to pieces. Forrest is genuinely one of my favorite people. We are friends. Can't wait to interact. I still do not begin to understand his particular version of nihilism, but only because I tend to view nihilism from a more philosophical perspective than a pragmatic one. And I think his is just kind of acknowledgement that, there's no meaning or purpose intrinsically in the world, and that's okay. But I desperately want to have that conversation with him sometime. Maybe we'll sit down. But Forrest is the busiest guy I think I've ever seen in my life.
He is.
And then, shows up and does a 9-hour show. So who has no time for anything but has time for a 9-hour show? What's wrong with that guy?
It's like he likes what he does or something. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Hey, so we've got callers, and
Awesome.
we're going to get into it pretty quickly. As always, these callers of some stripe or another are going to take priority. If you're an atheist and you are on hold, as I see a couple of you are, please be aware there is a chance that you will not get on the show tonight. It's just a reality. We're just going to keep bumping theists. And what I'll try to do is make sure that we fill in the gap as like a palate cleanser on occasion to ask, certain questions. But all we want is for people to tell us what they believe, why they believe it, and in particular, why they think we should also believe it. Because if your reason for believing is, hey, I believe there's a God because God told me. Well, cool. He hasn't told us. So we're kind of screwed on that front. And the fact that God called you and told you doesn't do us any good, because we don't have any reason to necessarily believe that. Right. But if you think there's good reason that we should, that Promise and I have missed, then by all means, share that. And all we want is just honest, like good faith and faithful callers, I suppose, is a way to phrase
answer
it.
the question that is asked. That's the best way, I think, and the shows that I've done with you, the best way to stay on the line is to actually answer the question at hand. We'll
see how it goes. First of all, we got Grant calling in from Indiana. Grant's a theist, pronoun so he/him, wants to present a cumulative case for why Grant's a theist. How long is the cumulative case? Because I think we might want to focus on like the best elements first to see where it goes.
Hi, it's not super long. I guess it just depends on, what you would want to talk about the most. I am a Christian, so I guess I have like reasons that I think if there's a God, that it would be the Christian God. And then I guess I also just have reasons why I think there is a God at all.
Nice.
Well, I guess go for it. I mean, by the way, Grant, I guarantee you, we are going to interrupt, but the only reason we do is for clarity, so that we can understand or redirect, or so you don't make 35 points and then, they didn't answer numbers 1 through 5 or the odd ones, and therefore it's over. I just want to have a good conversation and talk. So you're talking about the Christian God.
Yeah,
what reason do you have for what's, I guess, your primary reason for thinking that a God exists and that it's that one?
So I think they're kind of separate. I don't think there's any one proof that's like there's definitely a God and that God is at the same time definitely the Christian God. But I guess one of the biggest reasons I think there's a God at all is, I guess, a lot of the common Christian arguments. So, and not all of these lead necessarily directly to like a personal God, but I feel like they do lead to something supernatural or just outside of naturalism and materialism. So that would be like the contingency argument, the moral argument, the fine-tuning argument, and yeah, I guess like a form of the fine-tuning argument that I find convincing for myself is, I guess, just the inherent sort of apparent design of the universe, down to like the atomic level. Just the way, at the smallest level that we can see, the fact that atoms are able to bond with each other, and that they have this potential to function and work together. I guess that's sort of a fine-tuning argument, like,
Are you saying
not
that? Are you saying that the fact that atoms bond violates some natural principle?
No, I wouldn't say it violates a natural principle. I would say that the fact that it is a natural principle, is sort of evidence for design, or at least purpose.
Well, how do you determine that? Because, like, as far as I know, I'm not a chemist, but I'm not a physicist. But the natural laws governing this, they don't. I don't know how you can look at those and say, "Ooh, those had to be created or instantiated by some intelligence." What's the justification for that?
Well, so I guess it's sort of an analogy, is the way I understand it. So okay, I guess, what do you believe about the origin of the universe?
I don't
Big Bang
I don't
theory.
have an explanation for the origin of the universe, and as far as I can tell, neither does anyone else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
do
my
you,
stance as well. My answer is I don't know about the origin of the universe.
okay. I'm also like not a scientist, but I mean, do you generally think that it has, like, the Big Bang theory is the most, I guess, plausible?
That's not the explanation for the origin. That's what we know so far. Then there's things possibly before, during, all of that we don't know.
I would say,
Okay.
I accept that the current Big Bang cosmological model is the one that is best supported by evidence, and is the scientific consensus is that it is the best current model, but it could be wrong and revised or whatever. But I don't see any space in Big Bang cosmology for a God.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just explain to you how I thought of it. I don't know how convincing it will be to you, but this is just sort of where my head goes. Is that atoms exist, like, sort of at the smallest level in the universe already.
Hang on.
Evolution. Yeah.
When you say at the smallest level, you realize that atoms are also made up of quarks and stuff like that, right?
I know, like, protons and neutrons and electrons. Sorry. Yeah. Do you know more about that?
Well, there are elementary particles that are smaller than protons and electrons and neutrons at that level, and beyond that, because you've got quarks and muons and things like that. So it may not matter, because it's just when you say at the smallest level.
Well, it's not.
You're talking about atoms, and we already know that to the extent we could divide things into levels, there's also a subatomic level.
Right. Yeah.
Grant, can I ask you? So far, what I'm hearing is a lot of things that you're just not so sure of, or maybe not understanding, or maybe none of us collectively have an answer for yet, and therefore you think maybe that means a God. And to me, that's not a good reason to believe something. You're just filling in a blank, instead of just being open to leaving it blank. Why is the answer not, I need to learn more, or we need to learn more? Why is the answer, therefore, the Christian God?
Well, again, I don't think that this leads directly to the Christian God. I think it maybe just leads to the possibility, maybe the plausibility of just some force outside of natural, what we can see and feel. And
Do you Do you worship this God?
I do. I do. Yes. And the reason I
What
think
is
it's
it
a
that
Christian
has
God
you
is more
so
because of Jesus.
right? But my question is, what is it that has you so convinced this is real that you're willing to worship it? And I don't even want to get to the part where if something should ever be worshipped or not. But like, I'm curious for you personally, what is it that has you so convinced? Because you're
Yeah.
acting like you're maybe wishy-washy, but then it sounds that you're worshiping it. So you must
Yeah.
really think it's real.
My question's on the same thing, because you talked about these things suggest to you the possibility of a God. I don't think they even suggest the possibility of God. I don't think they are strong enough to demonstrate the possibility of a God. But you jumped seemingly from the possibility of God to, yep, I worship it because I know which God's the right one.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I jumped from this to, obviously I don't know how anyone could rationally jump from that to the Christian God. If you want to know why I personally think am the more convinced than still super skeptical about it, is personal experience.
So when you mention the possibility of God, is it
Yeah.
also possible that there's not a God?
I think it's possible. I think the level of organization and apparent sort of purpose or intention behind matter.
You're assuming purpose and intention, but the question was,
right.
If you say God's possible, is it also possible that you're wrong, that there's not a God?
Yeah, it is possible that I'm wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's possible that there's not a God, how would you explain the personal experience that you're crediting to God if it turns out there's not a God? What would your explanation for that be?
Well, my explanation, it would be, it was a crazy coincidence. Crazy coincidence in my life, a crazy coincidence in the lives of people around me. That's how I would explain it.
How do you disprove? How do you disprove coincidence then?
You don't. So here's I guess the issue that you're raising is, I don't claim to have knowledge of God or know God and understand that it's the Christian God based purely 100% irrefutably on the sort of evidence. What I'm saying is it requires faith, but I came to the faith through different amounts of evidence.
Okay. Do you have any empirical evidence for God, or is it just all inference?
Could you just, what kind of empirical evidence are you thinking?
I don't know any kind of empirical evidence, because all you've got right now is you look at the universe, and correct any of this is wrong. You look at the universe, and at the atomic level, you see what you view as intention and design. And for you, the most reasonable explanation for the appearance of intention and design is that there's actually a being who intended and designed it, or at least there's possibly this being. And then, without any empirical evidence to support it, you then extrapolate somehow through whatever arguments you've got towards a more specific God. But just sticking with the general God, the appearance of design doesn't on its own confirm design, correct?
I guess it depends. What do you mean the appearance of design? What is that to you?
Well, I'm just saying, if you look at something and it appears to be designed to you, that alone does not mean that it was designed, right?
I mean, what is something that you can look at that appears? Because when I think of something that appears to be designed, it's a desk, a bed.
Grant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're the one that's saying you see the appearance of design. The question is in the abstract, not the concrete. If you think you see design, is that on its own enough to conclude design? Yes or no?
No. That's
Then-
why I'm not saying I think the personal.
Which is,
yeah.
I don't know why it was so difficult to get you to answer that question. But if the appearance of design,
No, hey,
if the appearance of design is not on its own enough to confirm design, what did you use to confirm design? How did you falsify the proposition to reach the conclusion that it's design?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
No.
Okay. Look, I thought we wanted to have a conversation here, so I'm trying to. I'm a
did.
normal
You
person,
your part.
college
You have
student,
to
just
do
want to
your
have a
part.
conversation.
You have to do your part and actually listen and answer the question that's asked. And if you can't even be bothered to listen to the question that's asked and answer it, such that I have to repeat it multiple times, I'm not the one that's failing on the end of the conversation. So again, if the appearance of design is not enough on its own to confirm design, how did you confirm design?
I didn't confirm. If I had confirmed design, I would have released it to the whole world, and everyone would have believed it by now. So
Why do you believe there's design if you haven't confirmed it?
Because to me, it seems more plausible that there is design. So that's why I believe it.
Okay. Go ahead, Promise.
I was just going to ask with your, because I think that your personal experience is what you've really honed in on as being your reason for believing, because you just said that you can't demonstrate that there is a designer and all of that. But with your personal experience, it was really interesting to me when you said, yeah, if it was confirmed there wasn't a God, then I would say that that's just coincidence. I really would like to go back to that, because why are you so willing then to be like, actually, God, when coincidences do happen all the time? They happen for me all the time. They happen. That's part of living. We experience coincidences. So why are you so willing to ascribe this to a God that you don't even have the scientific evidence for, like you've said? Why can't you just say, yeah, that probably was just coincidence?
Because it might have not. Because you haven't disproved God. There is no. As far as I know, there's no way.
We also haven't disproven that it was like a, leprechaun jumping out of your cereal box from your closet that went and set the whole thing up for you. So do we believe every single thing,
Right.
or do we believe things that we have a really good reason to believe?
So the coincidence, the thing that I would have described as a coincidence to me is it was an answered prayer that was kind of weird. So it wouldn't. It's either explained. What?
How do you know a prayer was answered?
So I don't know 100%, but if you had this experience, I think that you would come to the same conclusion, or at least be a little bit more open to the same conclusion.
I'll bet you're wrong.
Okay.
Because I have no way of in any way confirming whether or not a prayer has been answered. And neither does anybody else in the history of the world, as far as I can tell. So when I ask you, how can you confirm that a prayer was answered? And you're like, I'm just convinced, and I think you'd be convinced too. You shouldn't make assumptions about what I'd be convinced of, because I run on the operation of skepticism as a foundation for epistemology, and you don't.
You're right.
And Grant, I have a question. If I came to you and I said, hey, here's these things that I prayed for and I didn't get them answered, would you say that that's good evidence that a God doesn't exist?
No, I don't think it works that way. We don't.
Why does it work? Why does it work your way? So Grant, why does it work your way and not my way?
Well, when I pray things and I don't get an answer, it still doesn't work for me. It's not okay. I guess you would call that the absence of evidence. That's not. If I text someone something and they don't respond, that doesn't mean they didn't get my message necessarily.
Grant, what percentage of your prayers?
If they do respond, it's more likely that they saw it than that they didn't.
What response have you confirmed?
So you're asking me if I confirmed it? I'm sorry, I can't scientifically confirm it. That's why it is faith, but it's based on these real experiences that I have experienced.
So the problem is that you used an example of someone not answering your text message versus answering your text message. So if I send someone a text message and I never get an answer, I don't know if they received it. I don't know if they saw it. Nothing. If I do get an answer, I at least know that there was a response, even if it's from somebody else or whatever. It could be somebody saying, hey, you've got the wrong number. Or it could be somebody saying, this is it. Text messages are verifiable. If I send a text message, why on earth, if I have no way of verifying a response, would I ever suspect that there was a response?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying I don't even know that what I perceive as the answer to my prayer is even an answer to my prayer. It could have just been a random thing that happened.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It could have been a random thing that happened. But you're asking me why I believe in a God and why I'm more sure of it than unsure of it. It's because of it.
So what you're doing is you're saying, I don't have a good reason, but I believe anyway. So then the question becomes, do you care if your belief is true more than you care whether or not it's comforting?
I do. I think if my belief could be disproved, I would take that for sure.
So the problem here, Grant, is that if you care about whether or not it's true, you would not shift the burden of proof immediately after saying that you care about whether or not it's true, because you said, I do care more about whether it's true. And then you shifted the burden of proof to suggest that somebody should try to disprove your God. But if your God is unfalsifiable, nobody can disprove it. And if a claim is unfalsifiable, no one can have a reasonable justification for believing it. If your claim is untestable and unfalsifiable, you cannot have sound evidentiary warrant for accepting that it's true.
Okay. You're saying because, okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay. Promise you got more.
I mean, we can keep going if you want. I think it would benefit you to even listen to this call, because it makes me sad for you that you might be potentially spending time worshiping something that literally does not exist, and you haven't even found substantial reason other than, well, I think maybe it's probably more likely than not. And yet you have as much evidence for this God as me saying that I have a little tiny invisible singing starfish that is right here that, sometimes does the things I pray for, but sometimes not, kind of at the rate of chance. And you should just believe me because I think that's probably right. You need a better reason to believe if you care about believing things that are true. So I think this is something for you to go back, listen, think more on, because when you started the call with your reasons, I think you said the contingency argument, moral argument, fine-tuning argument. As you listed those off, those are some of my reasons for not believing that a God exists. So I just think you should take all of this back, and listen to the call, think about it, and maybe take some of our points to heart.
Okay, I mean, I have watched a lot of your guys' videos, and I haven't been any more convinced of that. And I do think when it comes to
shifted the burden of proof, that's because you've shifted the burden of proof. You are expecting that you are safe in your belief until we disprove your God. So here's the question: the God that you believe in, what could anyone ever do to prove that it doesn't exist?
I mean, if we proved that Jesus didn't come back from, like, if we had Jesus's body or something, yeah, that would probably be pretty good proof that.
Okay, how would you know if we had Jesus's body?
I don't know. I don't study that.
Okay, we can't even prove that he existed, let alone whether or not we have a body. We can't compare DNA. We don't know what his DNA was. I asked you how anyone could ever disprove the God you believe in, and you went to the same thing that one of my poorer debate opponents went to, which is, if they found Jesus's body, that means he didn't resurrect, and then the God I believe in is wrong. That is absolutely one of those falsifiable in principle ideas that is absolutely not falsifiable in reality. It doesn't matter. There could be a body in Israel that we find, and maybe it's Jesus, maybe it's not. If it is Jesus's body, we have no way of proving it. And if it's not Jesus's body, you have no way of proving it's not Jesus's body. So why is it not okay for me saying, you haven't proved that every dead body laying in Israel isn't Jesus?
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess I think if there was maybe
you
more evidence,
you seem to, Grant. You keep saying you get what we're saying, but this is foundational. If there's no way to prove that you're wrong, you cannot be warranted in believing that you're correct, because there's no way to tell the difference between. There's no way to tell the difference between when you're right or wrong. This is why science relies on falsifiability at its foundation.
Yeah, well, I do think if there was some other plausible explanation for what happened to Jesus' body and the start of the apostles'
Grant, did
belief
you
in
hear
him,
anything he just said? Because we don't even know if Jesus existed. We don't know if there is a body to be found. We have no idea. What if his body was burned too? What if he did exist and his body was totally burned? You also, would you want every other religion to go do this then? It doesn't make any sense, because you started off this call with a God that exists in general, but now the way that would disprove a God for you is Jesus's body. So really what you're hung up on is Christianity and this personal experience you've had, and it has you believing something with zero good reasons because you had a prayer answered. Meanwhile, there are kids dying of cancer, being abused at the hands of priests that are actively praying every day for that to end, and their prayers aren't being answered, but maybe one time your prayer did. I don't understand. It doesn't sound like you have a good reason for any of this.
Yeah, sorry. That was a lot, and I just want to go back to, you said.
I want to go back to this, Grant. Can you think of a way that anyone could falsify the God that you say that you think is real?
Yes, what I was just
what
already
is it?
said.
Tell me how to falsify your God.
If there was a more plausible, well, look, this is what I'm saying is, what would falsify it is you're saying we don't even know Jesus existed. The problem is that the vast majority of historians agree that there was a real person.
I swear. No, you just demonstrated that you are not being honest, because when we point out that we can't stop talking and listen, it will do you worlds of good. When we point out that we can't even show that he existed, that's a factual matter. I have no problem with the notion that he existed. I have no problem with the notion that he may not have. I understand and know very well, and have known since probably before you were born, what historians say about Jesus. I'm not talking about Jesus. I'm talking about a falsifiable claim. When I ask you, do you have a way that someone could falsify your claim? You do not get to say, well, if there was some way for someone to demonstrate a more plausible explanation. No, that's not how falsification works. You don't get to say,
no,
it's falsified. Stop fucking talking.
All right, go ahead.
Interrupt me one more fucking time, I dare you.
All right, I'm going to hang up because you're very rude. So you said you wanted to have a conversation. This is not a conversation. This is you're yelling at me. So goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a wonderful day.
That had nothing to do with the fact that we had cornered the conversation and there was no longer, we weren't getting good answers the whole time, but
I was in mid-thought. You interrupted me, and then you call me fucking rude. No, what happened is the cognitive dissonance in your head, Grant, reached peak anxiety inducement for you. You realized on some level that you're now accepting an unfalsifiable claim, something that if you do consistently, if you use the same standard of evidence and epistemology for your God belief, you would have to believe countless gods. You would have to believe countless things, because if it's unfalsifiable, you can't tell the difference between whether it's true or not. And so while you say you care about truth, in reality, you care about protecting your cherished beliefs. And this is why, instead of answering the question about falsification, you try and say, oh, you said that we can't even prove he existed, yet historians think that he did. It doesn't matter what historians think. They can't demonstrate that this individual existed. They can only say, we have stories about him and we will view him as an actual historical figure. But you have no way of finding a body, no way of nothing. And when your brain got cornered, you looked for any way out of the conversation. So you clutched your little fucking pearls and, oh, Matt, you're just so mean. I do declare, you are just the rudest person I've never interrupted anybody quite as rude as you, sir. Good day, sir. I will stick with my good day. No. Good day. It's embarrassing.
I haven't heard the Gone with the Wind impression before. That was good though.
Yeah.
The southern
Frank the
gentleman
Gabe?
coming out.
I don't give a damn.
I don't give a damn.
All right.
It was almost a good conversation too. I feel like we had some great questions back, and if we had gotten a little bit of like, well, that was a good point, actually, I don't have a good response to that, we could have been like, cool, thanks. Next.
Yeah. He acknowledged, and once you're in that corner, I feel you. But, if you want to, on your way out, you want to get, no, you're just too mean. Okay. Hey, we've got RS is calling in from California. Pronouns she, her. RS is spiritual and has a question about birthright citizenship stuff. So, hey, RS, how are you?
Hey, I'm so stoked to be speaking with you. Hold on one second. Anthony, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. I'm so sorry.
Not for long.
My son just walked in and was trying to give me a massage tool. Yes, so I have questions. I am Native American, California Native American. And today, my son was telling me as we were going home that some, friends were texting him saying that I was around here in Sacramento. And I thought that was interesting because this lady I know, a neighbor, she's Filipino, and she was very concerned. And she told me that she heard from people in her community that, a lot of certain people are now very concerned about being deported. I have no idea why the reason. And my question...
You don't know why they're concerned about being deported?
I know why they're concerned, but, I don't know what happened to make them concerned in the same day. And
I'm so confused, RS. Do you understand that Trump is the president and that Trump is setting up Guantanamo for 30,000 immigrants to be moved there, and that they are rounding up immigrants and deporting them and suggesting that they should be able to do this even with some citizens? Do you just not watch the news?
No.
Then go watch the news. I don't care to have a conversation with somebody about this who isn't paying attention.
I'm trying to pay attention, but I have extreme...
You sat on hold for 43 minutes. You could have gone on YouTube or Google and done, hey, Trump, deportation. And then you'd know why people are concerned.
I know why they're concerned. I have many friends and relatives, actually, who have parents that came here illegally. But I wanted to know about birthrights. Exactly what do they want to try and do, and the extent. I'm very concerned.
What is it? What is it you're asking?
I want to know exactly when is it reasonable to get extremely concerned about loved ones, friends.
Now.
Many years ago,
Yeah.
and long before we voted. See, the time to have paid attention and understood about birthright citizenship and stuff like that is back when we were telling everybody what Project 2025 wanted to do.
Yes, I tried to keep up on that. And, I'm concerned too because for many years, a lot of my grandparents were not citizens. We were not given the right to citizenship for quite a while. And now we have people who are coming here, working, trying to make a life. And it's almost like I can't believe, I am quite cloistered. I'm very ill. And I just worry I have, friends and family. And I want to think of the harm taking their way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, RS. I mean, we are all upset. Go ahead.
I've gotten up there and I've done protesting. And, I get out there and I vote, ran into a lot of health issues. Oh, excuse me. And
Yeah, I'm so sorry, RS. It's very overwhelming. It's bad news for virtually everybody aside from a few billionaires. Yeah, it's very disheartening. I don't know if you had a specific question for us though. But yes, we all feel for you on that.
Yeah, I want to know what is it that, to the extent can they reasonably deport people? And does that include people who are here, legal permanent residency?
We don't know any more than you do what's going to happen. We're all watching this play out in real time together. And so, unless Matt knows something I don't, we don't know what's going to happen. And it is dangerous times, and it is good to build community and stick together more than ever. But yeah, we don't have answers.
So one of the things is birthright citizenship is guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. So Trump trying to put an end to it is unconstitutional. But we no longer live in a sane world. What difference does it make if something is constitutional or not if the Supreme Court has given him the power to break the law without consequences? What difference does it make if, what's printed on the Constitution if there's nobody left to protect it? And so you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what you can do about it. This is why we were telling people what was going to happen.
And what can we do now?
I don't know. We have to be diligent and prepare for the next election and hope that there's still a free and fair election that we can potentially do something. But the United States, along with a good chunk of the world, is too stupid and too misinformed and too ill-informed and too morally corrupt and too ideologically divided to actually do anything to give a fuck about people.
I cannot understand this, how I remember when I was young, nobody spoke about their personal politics or religion. And, now it's, when Trump, won office, with a family member, and, right away got screamed at, go back to Mexico, Mexican.
Well, part of the problem is that there were a bunch of people who didn't talk about their political views and their religion, and they are part of the problem. They're the reason we got here. Everything is political, and you have to discuss it, and you shouldn't just sit idly by. It's only within It's only within living memory that women got the right to vote and the right to have credit cards and buy houses on their own in the United States. That didn't happen by people not talking about their politics. That's not how a suffragette movement worked. You have to protest, you have to speak, you have to get involved, you have to do what you can to educate people, to change the misinformation that's out there. It's the reason we're all doing this and have been for years. It's the reason why I start off the show saying, look, here's the shit Trump did since the last time I was here, just to get people informed. But, what are you going to do? At some point, there may be a violent revolution or a civil war, and it's probably potentially closer than most people recognize, because most Americans are spoiled as fuck and don't remember or know what an actual war is like and what it would impact American society. And we now live in a time where, however that happens, is going to be different from any time in the past. We don't know.
Yeah. My people remember, and they know how to live in a way that, we're trying to come back, but it just makes me lose heart what I see now. And I know people tell me, Christians are very, they have good hearts. I didn't ever find that to be true. I found if they had good hearts, it was before. It didn't have to do with Christianity. I'm spiritual.
Wait, did you say if they had good hearts, they would be poor?
No, I'm saying that a lot of people have told me Christians have very good hearts, but I've never found that to be true. I felt that if they had a good heart, it was before Christianity.
Oh, before, not before. That's what I couldn't hear. Go ahead.
Okay. Although I am spiritual, I'm also working my way out of that type of thought. And, I just want to have better thinking. I want to be a better person and not sit back and think I can't do nothing. I have, been through a lot in my life. And I see now that, we can't just complain. We got to do something. And, I've been to the state capitol, doing protests for, a few different things. I'm dealing with a lot of health issues, which has really put a stop to a lot of the things that I wanted to do. But my concern is for, the people right up there in front, trans people, gay people who, aren't marginalized. And, because, I can fit in a lot of those categories.
So your frustration is well deserved. The only advice I can give you is to start studying, pay attention to the news, do what you can to help others get out from under a vacuum of information because they're apathetic or weren't paying attention, and the misinformation because of constant misinformation in the world. Start going down that route, and to write and call your elected officials to tell them what you think and what you're opposed to. Apart from that, until it's time to, drum up for the next round of voting, it's all preparing for that.
Okay. Because, I think I could still get out there and do something, I am concerned also for my grandchildren.
RS, I think we totally share your concerns, and that's why we do what we do here on the line. And there are communities out there. I think if you start looking for local communities, I'm sure you can find even like campaigns, local campaigns to sign up for. But I would encourage you to look for something like that. I think that would help you a lot. But I'm so sorry for what you've been dealing with and how this has personally impacted you. You're not alone in that. But do you have any last minute questions for us before we move on? Because I see some other theists on the line that are waiting.
No, and I'd like to hear what the other callers, what you have to say.
Perfect.
Well,
wish
I
you
would
the
recommend,
best and good luck to you.
I would also recommend reaching out to the Secular Therapy Project, because you're dealing with a lot. It's very clearly stressing you. It's happening to all of us. You are not remotely alone. But the Secular Therapy Project, seculartherapy.org, may be able to help you with some of that stuff, but also find yourself a local secular community and see what they're doing. See how you can help them. It may be that the best thing you can do is sitting from home, networking on their behalf to get more and more people to show up for activism things. You know, when there's community events, there needs to be somebody who's doing the rah-rah speaking, somebody who's setting up chairs, somebody who's catering, somebody who's, creating websites, somebody who's creating information resources, printing out flyers, designing those flyers. There are a gazillion jobs that go into the activism that's not just, ooh, here's a talking head saying something, or here's the one solution that's going to help me, fix this for my grandkids and my kids and everybody else. It's finding those communities locally, because I guarantee you, we have lost the federal government for a generation. We have lost the Supreme Court for at least a generation. And we have probably lost every branch of government for the next 12 years at a guess. And that means that the biggest changes need to take place at the local level. It needs, in California, maybe California should just secede. They can't. That's a joke, but it's working on local things is important. And it may be the biggest way to make changes, because if we start at the bottom and build back up, that's how we can potentially make changes at the federal level.
I like those ideas. It gives me a little bit of direction. And thank you.
Sweet.
Matt.
Go get busy.
Right.
You'll feel better. You'll feel better even if you're just distracted with the busyness.
Yeah.
Thanks, RS.
Yeah. All right.
Take care. That's tough.
Yeah.
The world is shit right now. And what's funny is it's bad even for the people who think it's good. They just don't know. And they're not aware that they voted against their own best interests and a number of things.
Well, it's wild and sad how quickly some of those people are even starting to realize. I've heard firsthand accounts from many people already that they already regret, just from Inauguration Day, their vote. And I think we're just going to hear more and more calls like that, and more people changing their mind, which I think is great. I don't care when somebody changes their mind. I'm just glad that it's happening. I wish it was earlier, but better to change it than never to change it. So I don't know. It's tough. I wish that we had more exciting, hopeful things to offer, but being in touch with reality, I think, is what's going to benefit us long term.
I think one of the things that happened is a lot of people, when Biden got elected, thought, okay, we made it through the 4 years of Trump. Now things are going to get better. And that's clearly not the case.
No, it just gave them time to plan and organize better.
It also reminded me that not only, I mentioned American citizens not knowing or understanding or grasping the realities of war and conflict and stuff like that. There was a period of time where intellectuals, free thinkers, were convinced that religion was dying and it was only for the weak and it would just go away. And so they went along with the very thing that RS was talking about, of let's just not talk about religion. And by not talking about it, that means you're not challenging it. By not talking about it, that means you're not educating people about it. And so what they get is just what they get at church from their parents. In whatever little pocket community they've got, that's all they know. That's how cults are started, that kind of isolation. Never, ever, ever get complacent or shut up about what is morally right, morally good, what is reasonable to believe, and that religion should not have a privileged status anywhere on the planet. And if it's not true, it needs to be expunged. And if it is true, it needs to demonstrate that so that we can understand what's true about it without having to waste time talking. Or further talking, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Here's we got another theist caller. Brian's calling from North Carolina with a question or an answer to the question about if God would approve of the country. So, Brian, what God are you speaking on behalf of, and what are your thoughts?
I don't know. It didn't tell me what its name was, but
did it tell you anything?
It told me a lot. Well, it didn't actually talk. It's more of just makes stuff known. I don't know how to explain it to you, but so before I sound too crazy, I'll explain a little bit more. But I wouldn't consider myself a Christian or anything like that. I grew up in church. I'm as everybody else around here, and you can probably tell by my accent, I'm a Baptist, Southern Baptist, or I was. But and I apologize, I'm a little bit nervous too. I didn't think I would be, but when you beeped, I wasn't expecting it.
No worries.
So in 2022, I got COVID like pretty much everybody else did, and I got if I had a heart condition related to the COVID, and which I didn't know I had at the time. But one day I was home on October 22nd, 2022. No, I'm sorry, 25th, 2022, October 25th. And I started feeling a little bit strange. I went to the bathroom, and I was walking back to my chair to sit down. And I know personal experience is not any proof of anything to anybody, and this is just basically me telling a story, and there's no way to tell, if I'm crazy or if it's something that's actually, a real thing or whatever. And I don't know myself, to be honest with you, 100% sure, but it's what it is. So I'll tell you since you let me talk. So, but I was coming back to sit down, and I've never had anything like this happen to me before. And I apologize for my vocabulary or lack thereof too. I don't know if I'll be able to
just keep going. You're doing fine.
Explain well what I'm saying. So I come back to sit down in my chair, and on the way back to sit down, I hear a voice, and it's like a booming voice, like thunder, kind of like, but it's inside my head, but it's not mine. So that doesn't make sense, and it's kind of a red flag right there. That obviously something. I don't think I'm schizophrenic or anything like that, but so I hear this voice, and all it said was, "It's time." And I'm like, "Time for what?" And it was. If it was from me, it was from a part of me that wasn't connected with the conscious part of me that's I interact with daily, on a daily basis. But so it said it's time, so I'm like, "Time for what?" So about that time, my heart started beating like a hummingbird, like 1,000 beats per minute or something. And then I feel like I'm going to pass out. So I go sit down in my recliner and lean my recliner back. And by the time I'm getting the recliner back, my heart stops beating. And I looked down at my cat and said, "I'm sorry, but I got to go." And I honestly was convinced that what was going to happen was that because I could hear, I could feel when my heart stopped beating, and then it went for like 5 seconds, and it beat again, and it stopped. And
I'm curious, Brian. Did you say that the voice in your head just said it's time, and that's it?
It said it's time, and that's all it said. And this was before I went unconscious or anything like that. I was
so that to me
and lucid.
Sure. I just briefly, auditory hallucinations can be from conditions like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, but they can also just be brought on by stress, drugs, sleep deprivation. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the cause was. There's no reason to think that it was a god, and it didn't tell you anything even useful. And so it seems that if you were on the verge of having a heart attack, it would make sense to me that you would be under a great deal of stress and that your brain may produce an auditory hallucination, which is why it didn't tell you anything specific or useful.
Right. You're 100% right. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I was a little disappointed in the lack of clarity on the matter too, but, so I sit down in my recliner and like my vision closed, like when you go unconscious. I don't know if you ever passed out before, but my vision just closed in and it went black. Yeah.
I've had multiple heart attacks. I've had multiple heart attacks and a triple bypass. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Very true. Well, so it goes, everything just went black, and I was expecting, what I honestly thought was going to happen was it would be like unplugging a television set and it would just go to nothing, and it would just be the end of it. And I was kind of okay with that. At the same time, I'm not, I don't say okay with it, but that was the preferable outcome. But at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen when you die. Nobody knows that for sure. If they did, you wouldn't have your show. But, so when it happened and I went unconscious, and I'm thinking, okay, when the oxygen is gone in my brain, then that's going to be it, and it'll just be like the TV turning off, and it'll be good. It'll be fine. But at the same time, I'm scared at the same time, and I'm thinking about my kids, and I'm worried about them and all this sort of thing. But after a little bit, I started calming down, and it started occurring to me that why am I not, why is the television not turning off? Why is my thoughts still going on? Because it had been a while, as far as I could tell, and I don't know that I'm, really keeping track of the passing of time like I would if I was conscious or not. I don't know how long it was. It could have been 5 seconds. It could have been 5 minutes. I don't really know. But I eventually felt something kind of change, and all the like I could feel my body involuntarily moving, but I wasn't in control of it. But it was like I wasn't really tethered to my body anymore. And the next thing I know, everything is just still, and I'm in a complete void of nothing but just blackness in my consciousness, as far as I could tell. And again, I'm still thinking, well, this is just part of the process. It's just oxygen. Whenever I'm completely deprived of oxygen, that'll be it, And I don't know how long that goes on, but I'm in the darkness. Just like darkness doesn't even really describe it. It's just like nothingness, just my consciousness. And
I'm wondering.
I don't know how long I was there.
I'm wondering, Brian, what conclusion can anybody reasonably reach from what you're describing, including you?
I don't know. I was just going to. I don't know that there necessarily is a conclusion or not a conclusion. I don't know if I don't have any kind of proof or anything like that. But this is kind of. I don't want this story to be too long, and I apologize if it is. But I haven't really even got to the part where I'm at
I'm just trying to figure out. That's why I'm asking the question, because we've gone on for a while, and I just want to figure out.
Right. Okay, I'll skip.
Where's the part where something happened other that we could say, oh, that wasn't just your brain going through something or a cardiac event, right. Or I've passed out also from internal bleeding, had to get emergency surgery. I saw all kinds of weird, crazy things and had all kinds of crazy feelings and remained very atheist throughout. Right. So I'm eager to get to the part where, okay, what made you convinced there's a God?
Fast forward. I'm not convinced there's a God. I'm like 51% convinced there's a God. I still don't know that it wasn't just my brain, but anyway, so when I eventually I was in the blackness and I started getting concerned that I was just going to be stuck there forever. I didn't know what that was, but eventually I calmed down, and from that, getting kind of worried about that, and I found myself just in space, and there was like a nebula there, like a big, huge blue nebula, and I could see stars
I
and everything.
swear,
I'm out in the middle of
Brian,
space
I
somewhere.
don't need any more description of what you saw. I need to
Okay.
get to what conclusion can we reach about it.
I'm there. Okay, so the being that was there when I was in space was not concerned about, would not, when I say God would be indifferent about the current state of America, I don't want to say indifferent, but the being that I encountered was concerned about what I took from my time on Earth, and it took me to several different, like, I don't want to say several, but like probably 10 different little instances where I had, like some of them were like life-changing events, and some of them were just like little, seemed like nothing events. And I was actually like there, and like a life review kind of thing, but not my whole life. But anyway, but they were concerned. It's like I've heard you say, if you encountered a being that was sufficiently technologically advanced, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and a god, right? So it felt like the being that I was interacting with was more. It was more like it was a technologically advanced being that was
Brian, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
supernatural thing.
I've heard similar stories, and I feel like I get the gist of it enough.
Right.
And I just
Right.
have a
Okay.
couple of questions. That sounds cool.
Okay.
It sounds really cool. But what separates this from a dream or something that your brain created to entertain you while you're going through a cardiac event? Or, how do you know you're even remembering this correctly? There's so many
Right.
things here. Is there
Right.
anything you have that you can pull from reality to say, oh, that checks out?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a personal experience, and so
So there
when
is
I
no difference
when
then
I was
between that and like somebody that says they had a dream that happened, or even somebody that
yeah.
comes up with this
Well,
idea that what if there is this being that has this? That's what I'm trying to get
right.
to. Is
Well,
there
I've
anything of substance in your, like, have you come across any evidence, like any science that points to this being true? Or is it just something that, like, you had this experience and it makes sense to you, so you're going with it?
yeah. Okay. So the way that it differentiated from a dream for me was that when I encountered that whatever that was, whether I encountered it really or just in my mind, if it was a dream or whatever, whenever the experience was over with, I was not. I've been dreaming for 50 years, and I've never been like actually like changed by a dream. And whenever I woke up from this dream or whatever it was, I couldn't eat meat anymore. I couldn't. There was a lot of things I couldn't do because of the amount of inferiority that I felt.
So, okay, sorry, that's my
Um,
bad for not being clear enough. Is there anything outside of your personal experience and change?
right.
I have friends that also go do ayahuasca and then they also have stuff and, their brain chemistry changes or their
Yeah.
opinions about
Yeah.
things and all that. But is there anything outside of just in your brain? Because all of those things, even like you stopped eating meat, that's something that happened in your brain, in your mind. Is there anything
Right. Yeah.
outside of that points to any of this being something actually supernatural or whatever you would go on to call it, anything that aligns with reality? Because otherwise it is just kind of like, cool story, bro. I don't mean that to be rude. It's just, it doesn't really hold any kind of value. And I'm concerned that it would hold a lot of value to you other than maybe some curiosity and interest,
Right. Well, the reason I told the story was that I thought that the question was, what would God's opinion be? And the reason I think that God would be indifferent about the current state of the United States is because what I gathered from it is that I don't think that that the it seemed more like that this is kind of like a game to that, and it's not something that's really concerned, like the things that are happening to us that we're concerned with here are not necessarily okay. I don't have anything that, I mean, if I had proof of it, then obviously I would I would be famous for proving supernatural. I don't have that. All I have is a personal experience, and the experience I had, the God that I've encountered, I don't think that
Brian.
it. Yeah, yes, sir.
So you had an experience. Let's just assume that you somehow went to space and interacted with something that showed you pictures from your life to see what you thought of it.
Right.
Was
It wasn't
that
really
a
like
test?
pictures. It was more like actual.
I don't give a fuck. Does it matter
Yeah.
whether it was a picture or a movie or a direct experience? It showed you something from your life and you thought it was trying to figure out what you evaluated it as. Does it matter what the fuck it was?
I don't know if it does or not. It was.
Does it matter if it was a
more of
picture or what? Oh my God, never mind. I give up. I had something I was going to, but you decided to focus on whether I used the word picture or direct experience or movie or whatever. All of those things that don't fucking matter. I was trying to get to what do you think was the point of your space alien God thing, trying to figure out what lesson you learned? Was it judging you? Was it going to send you somewhere? Was it this is the purpose of the game? That was what I was trying to get to.
Okay. Well, I think the point is that it was just part of the process. I don't think that there was necessarily a point to it. I think it just felt like that was just the process.
Okay, let me see.
It was very clinical.
Let me see.
Very clinical.
Tell me what I get wrong. Tell me what I get wrong here. You
Okay.
heard a booming voice in your head during a heart attack, had an experience of interacting with something that showed you in some way or another portions of your life to figure out what you took away from those experiences. And this was part of the process. And you think that being would be indifferent to what's happening in the United States. What's wrong with what I said?
It's pretty close to right.
And it didn't take 16 minutes.
Yeah, well, I'm not very experienced at calling shows. I'm sorry. Apologize for that. And I didn't really know what you wanted to hear, but I mean that's pretty much all I've got. So I don't guess I have much else to add. But I appreciate your time and good luck with everything. And I'll talk to you guys later, I guess.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. Okay. If you have useless information about a god, I don't need it.
Yeah, I guess we forgot to specify that it should be useful information.
If your take on God is indistinguishable from taking a bong rip and going, whoa, dude, maybe like this is all a test. It's wild to me. Anyway, let me make a couple of announcements real quick. I don't know that I have the full schedule.
We almost have nothing scheduled for.
About to say.
Yeah, we're working on it. It'll be done by like Friday, but not today.
It'll be a surprise, everybody. It's going to be great.
So let me just tell you, I'll be out of pocket tomorrow, finishing up tomorrow and early Friday, maybe finishing up my personal Patreon videos for the month. But there'll be a Transatlantic call-in show tomorrow at 2:00 Central. And hopefully by this weekend for the Sunday show, you'll have a better schedule of what all is going on. Oh man, somebody came in chat just to call me horrible and they didn't even get through to where other people could see it. I was going to approve it so that everybody could see exactly who thinks I'm horrible, because that's important. We've got X-Res calling in from Mississippi. Friends are him. What's going on, X-Res?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm all right. What's going on?
Okay, so yeah, I thank you for having me on. And I was.
What's going on with your phone? I don't know what's going on with your phone. There's a whole bunch of rattling.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Let me. Okay, hang on. How's this?
Well, I don't know. 2 words isn't enough, but go ahead.
Okay. All right, yeah. So thank you for having me on. It's a very interesting topic, and I would love to have that discussion with you guys from the Bible.
Why should we care what the Bible says?
You don't have to, but I guess from my point of view, the Bible is the answer to everything. Of all the problems on earth, the Bible can solve that.
Why?
Okay. How does it solve my heart condition?
Well, think about it. When Jesus was on earth, one of the things he did was heal people's sicknesses and resurrect the dead.
He didn't heal me.
So he felt, well, yeah, that's true. He didn't heal me either. But we do have an account.
So how is the Bible the answer to my heart problem?
Well, because it tells you in the prayer that he taught us to pray, our Father in the heavens. And he told us to let his name be sanctified and let the kingdom come on the earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
So,
how does that help my heart problem? You said that the Bible, you said that the Bible is the answer for everything. And the first thing I asked, all you can do is say, Jesus said to pray. I know what the Bible says. I was a fundamentalist Christian for decades. I was studying to be a preacher. I know the Bible better than the overwhelming majority of believers. I don't need you to tell me what the Bible says. I need you to tell me why I should care what the Bible says.
Well, I was actually about to, but you kind of cut me off there. But anyway, yes.
Oh, are you going to whine every time I try to redirect the show to something relevant?
Yeah, sir. So I'm not trying to cause a problem or be argumentative. I'm just trying to explain my point. That's all.
Go ahead and answer.
I'm trying to run a show here and direct you to make your point. And I'm telling you what is relevant and what is not relevant, and what will not move us and what we will not care about. So if you're going to point to the Bible, you need to first explain why we should care what the Bible says. It's easy.
Well, simply put, it tells us why we're here. It tells us where we're going. Okay.
It's in the
beginning.
Why should I believe that? Why should I believe that?
Well, hold on. Let me finish. I'm just trying to tell you what's happened. First of all,
listen, X-Res, listen.
He didn't have
X-Res, listen.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I don't need you to tell me what the Bible says. I don't need to tell me what you believe the Bible says. I need you to tell me why you think it's true such that we should care about it. Because when I read the Bible, it's a book that does not support equality of sexes, does not support equality of races, does not support equality at all. And those things are important to me and things that I value. And the Bible gets it wrong. The Bible allows and endorses slavery. The Bible prevents women from having property, prevents women from having equal rights. If those are things that are in the Bible, then what'd you say?
I said all of that is actually not true. So it may be your understanding of what you think the Bible says.
X-Res, what did I just say that wasn't true?
You talked about slavery. You talked about all these other subjects, unequal rights.
What did I say that wasn't true?
Blah, 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 blah.
What did I say that wasn't true?
Was not true. I just told you.
Okay. Open your Bible. Open your Bible to Exodus 21 and read along with me.
Okay, so I thought you didn't care about what the Bible said.
I don't give a fuck, but you're not going to call me a liar on my show when I'm fucking right and the Bible advocates and endorses slavery. You shall buy your slaves from the heathen that surround you. They shall be your property that you shall pass on to your children. You can beat them as long as they don't die within a day or two. Jewish slaves are under a completely different set of rules, and you can trick them into becoming your slaves forever rather than having to let them go after 7 years. What did I just say in that little nugget right there that is not 100% accurate to the Bible?
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and you make a good
What did I just say? What did I just say in that right there? What did I just say? What did I just say that is not 100% accurate to the Bible?
Well, it's not. I'm not saying the slavery isn't mentioned.
What did I just say that isn't 100% accurate? What did I just say? Okay, X-Res, I'm going to fucking mute you. We are not moving forward until you exactly answer my fucking question, because you've told me that I'm misrepresenting the Bible, and I'm not, and you, sir, are, and that will not fucking stand on the show. So tell me exactly what I just said that is not in the Bible
To be
and supported by the Bible.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again because you were clearly talking while you're mute. When I unmute you, you need to say, Matt, you said this, and that's not in the Bible. That is the only thing I will listen to you from. So to start, what did I say that's not in the Bible?
Okay, Matt, what's not there is that you're not understanding that in the language in.
No, sir. I'm going to mute you again, you dishonest fuck. I need you to tell me what's not in the Bible. Don't you dare suggest that I don't understand it. I've been teaching this shit for ages. I've debated this shit for ages. I am absolutely 100% correct. What did I say that is not absolutely in the Bible?
Okay, first off, your faith failed, so you must not have like.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again, you dishonest fuck. And I'm going to call you a dishonest fuck every time you're a dishonest fuck. You accused me of getting it wrong. I'm going to ask you one final time. When I unmute you, tell me what I said that is not in the Bible. Go.
What you got wrong is that
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to mute you because you are clearly incapable of listening and paying attention. I don't need you to tell me what I got wrong because you're going to go to interpretation. This is why you tried to do the Matt you don't understand. What did I say that is not in the Bible? That's the question.
How am I going to answer if you keep cutting me off?
Okay, I'm going to mute you again, dumbass. It's really easy. When I unmute you, you tell me what I said that is not in the Bible. You're not, if you whine, if you say, how are you going to do it if we keep cutting you off? If you say anything other than, you said this and it's not in the Bible, I will hang up on you and this call will be over. So what did I say that's not in the Bible?
Okay. First, okay, what I just explained to you is that.
What did I say that's not in the Bible?
Slavery. This is
what did I say that's not in the Bible?
It did occur. I'm telling you right now.
What did I say? X-Res, okay, never mind. Fuck you, X-Res. I told you I'd hang up on you for being dishonest, and now I'm going to hang up on you for being dishonest because you had every opportunity to tell me what I said that's not in the Bible, and you refused to do it, which means you know I'm fucking right.
I just
and you are trying to spin. Go away. How embarrassing. How absolutely embarrassing for someone to be like, oh, you just don't understand the Bible. When it says, buy your slaves from the heathen that surrounds you, it means just indentured servants for a little while. It just means this. No, it says very specifically, and I've done this so often, I have it memorized, chapter and verse. I've been doing this for 21 fucking years. If you're going to call in and tell me I'm wrong about the Bible, you better bring your A game and somebody else's A game because my A game's already better than yours. Oh, your faith failed. Yeah, it failed because there's no evidence for a God. There's no reason to believe the Bible is in any way a demonstration of the God. You know why my faith failed and yours didn't? Because you are gullible and you are willing to make excuses and sacrifice your morality and your humanity on the altar of worship to something you cannot demonstrate. Don't you dare tell me I'm fucking wrong and then refuse to identify what I've actually got wrong when you know damn well I'm not. All right. Let's try it again. Sorry. Jesse's calling from Oregon. Jesse's a theist. Something about continuing off the first caller. I believe there is reason behind faith to make it valid. Oh, boy.
I don't know what that means.
Well, evidently, neither does Jesse, because valid is about the structure of an argument, not the soundness. But, hey, Jesse, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? I'm all right.
So what's your thing that you're calling in? I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Well, first, I just want to make a point that I think the first caller was right that Matt can be rude. That's not my main thing.
Why are you really calling to say that?
I already hung up.
Yeah.
Let's be really clear here. If you're going to call in to talk about other callers and how rude I am, when, by the way, they were the one that interrupted me and then ran away, you don't get to talk on my show. Call somebody else. You're not going to accuse me of lying. I don't give a shit if you think I'm rude. I don't give a shit if you think the first caller is rude. You are commanded, if you're a Christian, to be prepared at all time to give the reason for the faith that's within you and to do so with gentleness and kindness. You're not commanded to call in and talk about whether or not I'm fucking rude. Put up or shut up. Bring your A game. But every time you call in to whine about me, you lose and Jesus loses. Next time, pray and ask Jesus what you should say when you call in, because if Jesus told you to say that, Jesus is dumber than you are. Okay, so we've got Everett from Oregon, pronouns are she, her, about would God approve of the current U.S.? And Everett's Mormon, so cool. We at least have a religious notion. Would a Mormon God, Everett, think that the USA is on the right track?
Yeah. So I think the on the right track question is different going by the book, but would God approve of the USA? I would say yeah, because God is a big supporter of free will. So the fact that it's pretty democratic in that people have a say in what policies are made and stuff, and it's far from perfect, but
what about all the
the fact
people
that free
who,
will
like
is able to
myself, so free will is not happening for me now, though, because and a lot of other people who are having rights taken away. So explain to me how that works, because a certain amount of people got some of their free will exercised. What about all the other people that voted completely differently? What happened to their free will? God only cares about this one group of people's free will?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Wow. So I mean, so if there's like contradicting free will, like if like there is right now, I mean, I feel like the fact that the current system is letting the like majority free will win, I think it would still be
It's
approved
not
of.
even the majority, it's just the majority of people that actually voted. So let's also keep that in mind.
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen any of the data on like the majority, like who voted versus just who didn't vote and what they would have wanted, but
Do you think it would be
with
good to have that data
then,
before forming this opinion?
I think it would have, sorry. But I think you're right. I think yeah, I've only been looking at the data of like who voted, sorry. Yeah, I think you're right then.
Yeah, I think it's good to think about, because it sounds like you just applied, oh, these guys got free will, so therefore it's fine, and you didn't take into account all the other people that did not have a voice, including children that didn't get to vote in this election that will be able to vote in the next one, that might have opinions right now, but they didn't get to have a voice in this because they haven't reached the legal age to cast their vote. So, if we're just looking at who voted in America, therefore free will, therefore God is happy with it all, I just can't follow that logic at all. So, yeah, I would go back, I would look at actual data, and I would really think your argument through before fully forming it.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you calling and wanting to talk about it, but I do think it's a good lesson on really paying attention to all the details of something before you reach a conclusion, because that's how we get caught up in believing things that are potentially not true, is when we don't have all the information and yet we're willing to go out and reach a conclusion because maybe it's confirming a bias that we have. If you're Mormon, then obviously you're going to have a bias to want to think that God is somehow involved in something and free will is something you believe in. So then you think that's happening, and then you take all these biases, but then you don't take into account facts about the situation. So I would go take this, I would think about it, and then I would see if there's other areas in your life and other conclusions you've reached where maybe you've done the same thing and you haven't taken all the information into account.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions or anything else you wanted to chat with us about before we move on? Matt, I don't know if you wanted to ask Everick anything.
No, my question would be completely unfair.
And it sounds like Everick's willing to go listen to this and think some things through more. So maybe if you think it through and you want to call back sometime and you have a more fully formed opinion about it, then you can call.
Yeah.
Wait. Thanks, Everick.
When you said if you have anything else you would like, yeah.
No, go ahead.
When you said if you have anything else you'd want to ask about, was that just like in relation to what we had already discussed, or was that just like the whole like God stuff in general?
Anything if you want. I'm as long as Matt's cool with you staying on the line. Did you have another question or another God thing you wanted to address? An opinion?
Yeah. I think it's, or I guess this is kind of a question, but I think it's not harmful to let someone like believe in and practice religion as long as they're being respect. No, I don't think I have anything really, because the thing with that is a lot of like large religions are being harmful to people. So it just, yeah. I don't think I have anything else.
Sounds good. Thanks, Everick.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
We have
Nice. I hope he thinks some of these things through better.
Yeah, she.
I didn't even see. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was at the bottom of the screen. And it's easy to miss, but yeah, she. We have a couple of callers. I'm gonna hold off. There's a theist, but I'm gonna do this first. Truss has been on hold for 2 hours.
Hi.
For something that I'm gonna apologize in advance, Tressa, because I don't care. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, at one point you had made an argument. Your argument was to debunk the claim that things could exist outside of time. I have no position on that. More importantly, the argument that you had used was that there could not exist zero-time objects. There is a counterexample to this in physics. A photon or any other massless particle, when traveling at the speed of light, in its own reference frame for the duration of its existence, experiences zero time, even though we, from other frames of reference, experience it existing for non-zero time.
So I'm not at all wrong, and you're giving an example I already know about, which isn't relevant to my rebuttal. And that was, I apologize that you were on hold for 2 hours for that.
Oh, okay. Well, the only other thing I wanted to say was I'm trans. I just wanted to thank you and everyone at the show for being great advocates for people like me.
Thanks so much. We do again. I apologize it took so long because we're going to prioritize theists, but yes, I'm aware about.
No problem.
I'm aware about models from the photon's perspective, everything else. It doesn't apply to a photon still exists for some period of time from our frame of reference, even under those models. Yeah,
that's true.
And I only have my frame of reference with which to analyze claims about causality and existence.
Indeed.
By the way, if a photon experiences no time, that's irrelevant to whether or not it exists for some time somewhere. But yeah. Anyway, I didn't want you to have to keep waiting for another hour for something that I've already been over a bunch of times.
So I don't plan on stopping.
That's fine. I just,
Thanks, Tressa.
Thanks. Yeah, if I'd have realized at the beginning, because there was a lot of text on the call screen there, and I was like, oh man, where's this going to go? Do I really want to dig in on, here's a thing I said once. That's really frustrating because I've said things, I've been wrong, I've changed my mind. If there's something that was egregious that needed correction, happy to do that. But no, there is a frame of reference under which something. Yes, I'm well aware. Let's try Nate, who's been on hold for almost as long. And I'll apologize in advance again, Nate, because you waited a long time for something. Anyway, go ahead. I already know there's nothing more to say, but go ahead.
Oh, probably hardly not. By the way, big fan of you, and promise you as well. Okay,
Thanks,
so
Nate.
my whole thing is that so Trump has been put pretty much above the law by the Supreme Court, to where if it's an official act, he's not going to be able to be prosecuted. He's already broken the law by how he handled the inspectors general, and he's going to continue to do so. Nothing stopping him from doing anything, declaring a national emergency, suspending Congress. He could do that. And it doesn't seem like we have any resistance from the Democrats, and that's at most it's just milquetoast, limp-wristed, like, please don't. So democracy, there hasn't been one that's lasted for more than 250 years. They always turn into autocratic bullshit, and we seem to be going like the way of the Roman Empire, in my mind. Now, I'm with you on the Luigi stuff. Like, I am a committed humanist, but what the hell is our response supposed to be at this point? Because the last time we had a king, somebody who was above the law, we did violence to get rid of the monarchy, and we ended up celebrating it. So is there anything left that's worth rescuing? Is there any longer any reason to withhold even, I hate to say it, but even violence? You said if you don't live inside the law, you lose the protections afforded to you by it. You said that toward the beginning of this show. And these people have decided that they are above the law, so why shouldn't they lose the protections afforded to them? Hello?
I have no answer. I started the show by addressing exactly this and saying, at some point, violence is going to be justified. I don't know when it is. I don't know what else to do. I can't answer your question any more now than I could have at the start of the show.
I guess fair enough. Well, I guess this was a quick call then. I don't know what's left to withhold on at this point. I'm ready to go, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm as all I can do is what I can do. And so rather than giving up or sanctioning murder or violent revolution, which may be, at some point I will definitely be justified or feel that it's justified. But until then, I do what I can, which is I'm going to get out better information to people and stand up in opposition to what they're doing as best I can, and encourage people to vote and to contact their representatives and to try and get the Democrats to stop being, playing by their rules and doing what they want. I don't have an idea. I'm not the savior of the world. I'm just somebody who's out here complaining and trying to point people to as much information as I can. At some point, killing is going to be justified. I don't know when that is. Could it be tomorrow? Probably not. Was it justified when somebody unilaterally does it? No. And by the way, that puts them outside the law. It makes them the problem as well. So you're like, at what point do they give up their rights to do this? I don't know. That's the discussion we have to have. And I just don't think we're quite there yet.
Gotcha. I kind of feel like we are, once we have effectively a monarchy and people being taken forcibly from their families and thrown into cages at the behest of a person who's above the law. I think it's time. But that's, again, my opinion. I don't if it's not now, I don't know when it is, in other words. But I'm I guess we'll see what happens. There's not a lot of people who want to join in on that. So,
Do you have guns, Nate?
Yes, I do.
Do you think you'll fare well against the police and the military?
No, I'm not about to go do something unilaterally. I'm not an idiot.
No, I'm not talking about you or idiot or anything else. I'm saying I don't know how a violent revolution can possibly work now. This isn't like previous revolutions where I was just about as well armed as the Minutemen. The United States government has access to resources that if everybody on the left all got up and moved to California and armed ourselves, we would not be able to withstand the might of the United States military and armed forces and all of that. So it's easy to sit here and go, oh, there's going to be an armed revolution. There's going to be a civil war. No, there's going to be drone strikes taking out the head. And how do you get information out? You know, when you go to take over a country, when you want to shut down stuff, and when you want to shut down a resistance, what do? You end the communications in the airports. Boom, boom. Well, we're a nation of idiots that are completely dependent on our cell phone. Like, I don't know anybody's phone number. My phone knows everybody's phone number. I don't know any of them. I have no, if we lose internet access at this house, not only can I not make outgoing shows, I have no idea what's going on. Not just a matter of, I don't know who to trust. I have no information coming in.
Yep, same here.
If there's even an attempt at a revolution, the internet gets shut down. Your access to information gets shut down. You have no way of arranging anything. So to whatever extent there is going to be some sort of revolution, it absolutely has to be underground and establish new routes of communication to begin with. And so while maybe some people might be working on that, I'm going to work to change the system from within because I'm 55 years old. I've had a triple bypass. I have one gun, which is absolutely useless. It's an antique 22 rifle. And I have no desire to shoot anybody ever. I will do what I can to defend myself and Arden and our stuff. But I am as flailing and frustrated as anybody else. And the only thing that I can advocate right now is working within the system, because even the people who decided it was time to start killing did no good. What good did it do for Luigi to kill a CEO that was replaced the same day with no change in policy? So the answer right now is Hydra. I don't know. And I don't even know how to get started towards change other than working within the system. If somebody has a better idea of how to work around the system and you know that it's time and we have to do this, I'm there. I just haven't heard anything. I don't know anything. So I've got to keep trying to do what I can to educate people and to make our voices heard as much as possible while we have some hope of having our voices heard. Because literally tomorrow, I could lose absolutely everything without the government doing a single thing. Just from someone like Elon deciding, hey, you know what? That guy may be leading up to something. That guy may be a problem. When you have somebody that is, let's see, if we compared net worth, I'm not even a gnat. And he could buy all kinds of internet provider companies. They all already control all of it. They control our ability to communicate, our ability to talk. We have ceded all of the ground to the billionaires, except for the elected officials that are standing there trying to prevent the Constitution from being tossed out. As long as there's hope of protecting this and defending the Constitution and ousting the people who are attempting to overthrow the Constitution, I mean, Trump took an office to preserve and to protect the democracy, to serve the Constitution, and he's a traitor. He's talking about deporting citizens. That his traitorous acts would be deserving of the death penalty if it went forward in the Constitution. But now we've made him above the law, so it's not. I don't know how to fix that. So I got to work with what I got. And what I got is encouraging people to vote, hoping that there are still enough free and fair elections that we might be able to win back stuff. Because the alternative...
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Yep. And the alternative is what? Dying?
I mean, what did Jefferson say? The tree of liberty must be watered from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Hawthorne with the, I regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. That stuff. I mean, that's what I'm feeling. But you're right. I mean, like you can't just throw yourself up against the might of Elon's pocketbook and expect to get anywhere. Oh,
yeah. I did 8 years in the military. I served in a foreign war. I was willing to sacrifice my life to protect the ideals of America, to protect the Constitution. That hasn't changed. The only thing that's different is I'm not taking orders and I don't have to throw it away in a waste. I need to keep working in whatever way I can that seems like it might make some changes. But honestly, here, straight talk. Every single day, I am baffled at the world I wake up in. Baffled at the religious aspect, baffled at the flat earth aspect, baffled at the people who voted for the pussy grabbing, I could shoot someone in the middle of the street, I can get away with whatever I want, I'm not going to pay people, I'm not going to do what's right, over the top, unbelievable idiot who's the least diplomatic, least presidential, least intelligent individual who's ever been president and now is there twice. Every day I wake up and say, is this worth it? I mean, this is not just my passion, it's also my income and livelihood. I did it for years for free, ran through my life savings to do this, and find myself in a worse position now at 55 after 21 years almost of doing this than I was in at the start. And if you'd told me 20 years ago that we would be here now, I don't know if I'd have made it. I don't know if I'd have done this for 20 years. And every day, I got to find a reason not to just quit and go work at the gas station on the corner and raise snakes, move out, buy a farm somewhere else. I'd love to buy a place where I could be self-sufficient and maybe off the grid and just do the stuff I like until it's time for me to die. But you know what? I no longer have any confidence that I'll be allowed to own any property. I'm not confident that the home I'm living in right now that I've been paying on is going to stay mine. What can I do to prevent someone from coming in and taking it? There's a reason that people are talking about revolution and civil war. Every single day, I try to find a reason to keep going and working within the system. And I'll do that until I'm dead or until it becomes obvious that I just can't. And then I don't know what I'll do.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Matt. What you're doing with this stuff has changed a lot of people's outlooks, including mine. I was a hardcore theist. I almost went down your exact path, my man. And you and what you said helped me through my not only my my doubts and angst, but also just everything. So what you do makes a big difference to a lot of people that probably don't tell you about that enough. So thank you.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate you saying that. And just know we're all frustrated, Nate. If I had an answer, I'd have given it to you at the top of the show. I'm still looking.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess we'll all just try to stay strong and do the do.
Yep. I got a couple of theists I want to get to before we end the show tonight, but thanks a lot, Nate. Take care.
Thanks so much, Nate.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Let me. Oh, look, somebody in chat's telling me not to be so negative. Cool.
What are we supposed to be?
Fabrizio, I was going to close the line to anybody who's not a theist, Fabrizio, because we've got a couple here. But if you have some way to genuinely convince me that my negativity is unwarranted, when I'm being attacked by people on the left because I'm not willing to sanction murder, I would argue that my negativity is a drop in the bucket compared to what a lot of people are experiencing, despite the fact that I'm here, my partner is trans, under attack every single day from the government that needs to make them a boogeyman to distract the idiots from the fact that they are giving away their power and everything they own to the billionaires that are taking over the world. Tell me how to be less negative. All right. Bez is calling in with an epiphany on why they should believe in God. Is this why you should believe or why we should believe, Bez?
I think you should have the choice to believe. I think if you believe in God, that makes God exist. Sort of, you're the God of your universe type thing. I just want to say first of all that I'm big fans of both of y'all. I was an atheist basically my entire life until last year. But I had this epiphany, and
you've already said some stuff I have to address.
Okay.
Belief isn't a choice. You're either convinced or you're not.
Okay. Well, I would say then if you believe it, then it is true. If you don't believe it, then God isn't real.
So if I believe I have $1 billion, does that mean I have $1 billion?
So in our own universe,
I'm sorry. If I believe I have $1 billion, does that mean I have $1 billion?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Cool. So why does believing in God make God real if believing in $1 billion doesn't make $1 billion real? What's the special pleading you're going to do here?
Okay. So my case is that the atheist case is we don't know what created the universe. We don't know what's out there. We can't know what's out there. So since it's like outside of our universe, and we don't know what's there, we can sort of choose to believe it because there's. Okay. I mean, if we believe it.
Bez, I asked a very specific question. I don't need you to tell me that we can choose to believe when I do not think that belief is a choice. I do reject your assertion that atheists not only say we don't know, but we can't know. Neither of those are the atheist position. But that's not the question that I asked. And the question I asked is, if believing I have $1 billion doesn't make $1 billion real, why does believing there's a God make a God real?
Because God is sort of outside what we know. We don't really know what was there before the Big Bang. We can directly see that you don't have $1 billion right now.
Okay, Bez, I'm going to stop because I talked a lot, and I already know that if you and I keep talking for the next 20 seconds, I'm going to end up yelling and calling you names because you're advocating for something that is absolutely incoherent and ridiculous. But I'm turning over a new leaf. And so, promise, what do you think about God's real if you just believe?
I want to know real quick, how do you define God? Because I'm wondering if we're just talking about something that's not really well defined. What do you mean when you say God?
Well, I think whatever you believe that God is outside of what we know through science. So, for example, morals, because I don't really think there's such thing as objective morals. So when looking at morals and looking at things like God that are sort of outside our scientific realm or what we can't know
Okay,
yet we can
wait.
sort of choose.
I'm
Mhm.
no. What is? How are you defining God? What is God? When you say God, like you just used it again, what is that?
Um, I
Can
think,
you define it
let's
without using
say,
the word God in the definition?
I don't
Is
think
this
it's the
is this a
same for
being?
everyone. I think it's different. It could be a being if you believe it's a being. It could be a fucking dildo if you believe it's a fucking dildo. Like,
So
it could
this
be
is
literally
okay. So
anything you
Bez, let
believe.
me stop you. Let me stop you. So basically, you're saying this
Mhm.
is imagination. This is something you make up in your head. So then I don't
Yeah,
understand what the
yeah,
point is,
100%.
because I can also imagine a pink flamingo that goes around uh, blessing people based off of chance. So I'm not sure how this
Mhm.
is anything other than saying, yeah, sometimes people make things up in their head. How does that
So
impact
like,
reality
if you can
whatsoever?
see
What?
a pink flamingo with your eyes just
No, I
fucking
made it
around
up
or
in my
whatever,
head.
if
I
you can
just
see a pink
I
flamingo,
believe that it's there. No, I just believe that it's there. I don't see it. I don't hear it. I don't have
Mhm.
concrete evidence. It's not part of the material world. I just believe that it's kind of there. You wouldn't understand. You just kind of
yeah,
have
if
to
you believe it's
trust
like
me.
on like a different realm or something that we can't actually observe, then yeah, it would be real. It would be kind of like a god.
Real defined on by what? If it's outside of detectable reality, how is it real?
Well,
How did you
yeah,
verify that
so
it's real?
you can't like you are the gods of your own universe. So outside of what you can verify, you can
So
like
Bez, you're
you
just
can
saying that you can
believe or
make things
not.
up in your head. So that's not interesting to me at all. You're describing what I used to sit and do as a nanny, when I would play with the kids that I worked with, and we'd make up a whole world in our head and we'd play, and that's all good and fun, and we all have imaginations. Is that really what you believe? That's what you ascribe to? Subscribe to?
I would say like you can ascribe sort of different things that happen in our world, for example, morals, to a god because we can't verify what morals are. So if you choose to
To
believe,
something you made
or
up
if
in
you
your
believe,
mind. So you're
Mhm.
saying if you
yeah, we
are
all
trying to
make up morals in our mind.
I'm just trying to understand your point. This doesn't make any sense to me. It sounds like you're saying what we can do is see that we practice morals that we made up in our head, and we can assign them to something in our head that we also made up. Cool. Now
Yeah,
what?
because I believe
Why
technically
do we have to
everything
take
is
that extra
kind of
step?
made
Why
up in
can't
our
I
head.
just say
Everything is just
what
work.
everything is made up? Is anything
Yeah, everything is
you've
just
used the word
work.
real
We
and
just see it as.
you've said something is outside of reality. Do you think there is a reality and an outside of reality?
So reality technically would be all quarks, but we can sort of verify that using heuristics. For example, like
Is this
like I'm
pen,
sitting on a chair right now.
Bez, can you see the screen right now? Is this pen more real than the pink
Ugh.
flamingo god that I have made up in my head?
Yeah, it would be as real as that, because if you
As
actually
real as
believe
or
what
more?
the pink flamingo god. Sorry?
Okay, let me ask the question again. Is this pen more real or less real or the same amount of real as the made up pink flamingo that exists only in my head?
If you actually believe there was a pink flamingo outside of what we can view, then it would be as real as the 10, yes.
I believe you're the dumbest caller I've ever talked to. Does that mean it's true?
Damn. All right.
Does it?
That's a good question, Bez.
I mean,
I don't think
I think since you can kind of verify things. Actually, no, I get what you're saying.
Bez. I don't remotely think you're the dumbest caller I've ever talked to. It's a question, and it's important because you have denied anything that seems like it's real. You are putting the real and the unreal on exactly the same fucking footing. So how can you tell what's real or not when you're willing to say that something that you just believe sincerely becomes or is real? And if that's the case, then if I believe that you're dumb as a fence post, it must be true under your model. And you're not.
So I think if like it was an unverifiable thing. For example, like you can't like take an IQ test or be super dumb just like as a verifiable thing. Then yeah, it would be real, because the only reason you would actually believe I was the dumbest caller is if I actually was the dumbest caller. So if you, so if you
So
genuinely
I
believe
can't be
I was the
wrong.
dumbest caller,
So if I believe something, I
Mhm.
can't be wrong.
I think in your own universe, from your perspective, since everything
It's not my
is
own fucking
about-
universe, Bez. Unfortunately, you're also in my fucking universe.
we are all in technically different universes, I would say.
Good.
in like
Get
a
the fuck
spiritual
out of
level.
mine. Stop wasting time in mine.
All right. Bye. Nice talking to y'all.
No, it wasn't.
That's wild. That was absolutely wild. Why even call? Why even have that conversation then? If everything's just made up and nothing's real, then we can pretend that conversation never happened. I guess it wasn't real.
Yeah, stop inviting me to your universe, Bez. I don't like it. All right. By the way, after the calls are over, we're going to go ahead and read all the super chats at $10 or more. But that's only going to take place in my universe. I don't know what Promise is going to do in her universe. Promise, if this is
Who
your
knows?
universe,
Nothing's real. So
if you're in your universe, Promise, why did you make so many awful people to harass you in your universe? Why don't you just
I know, isn't that
stop
crazy?
believing that they're real?
It's 'cause I
Hey,
just
we've got
want
Art
all the
in
attention.
Pennsylvania. Art's a theist who said something about the definition of the word God. I'm not sure I follow. Art, what's going on with definitions here?
Okay. Here's a thought. I want to see what you think of it. I believe that the word God is a subjective word. It refers to whatever, and I'm saying this is the way the word is used. Whether it should be defined this way is another story, but I'm saying it refers to something that is supreme, that's worthy of reverence and worship. And that is the way the word is used. You're a Christian, Jesus is your God. When you stop regarding him with awe and worship, maybe because you don't believe he's real, he ceases to be your God. So I'm saying, I believe that's the way the word is used, and that's the definition. Oh, by the way,
Do you think there's an actual extant God?
Yes, I do. But the point is, yes, I do.
Why?
Well, you're not going to like this because it's the kind of God that is not a person. It's, you can think of Neoplatonism, the one.
I just
Hindu,
asked you if you believed in an actual extant God and a being that exists.
it's not a separate being.
Okay. Is there any way to prove your God false? Your God
Yes.
model?
Yes.
How?
Okay. This God model says that God is the single, the one, as I said in Neoplatonism, the ultimate, the ground of existence. Now, if atoms were not splittable, then the ground of existence, the ultimate ground of everything that exists, would be
Oh my
space,
God.
time, and each of the elements.
Art,
Right.
do you know what the word falsifiable means?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Well, for instance, like if I say there's an elephant in my garage, we can walk into the garage and we can see if there's an elephant or not. That's a falsifiable.
What does the word
proposition.
falsifiable mean?
It means something that it's potentially able to be proven false.
How do you prove that your God isn't real? You don't get to say if atoms couldn't be split, or, what could someone potentially do to demonstrate that the God you're talking about does not exist?
You're asking me what someone could do right now. And I'm
No,
okay.
I'm asking you, what falsifies your God claim?
Okay, and I'm going to ask you, do you mean theoretically or practically? Are you demanding a practical procedure that you could do or someone could do? Or do you mean potentially that maybe in the future we could do it?
I don't give a fuck about potentially in the future, because if your proposition is only falsifiable in a hypothetical future, then you cannot be rationally justified in believing it now, because it's not falsifiable now. You don't get to do a hypothetical, maybe we'll get a technology that disproves it, because that means that your fucking view is not falsifiable now. And if your view isn't falsifiable now, it's untestable, which means you cannot have warrant to believe it.
No, don't get me wrong. You asked me if the concept was falsifiable.
Jesus
I believe it
fucking
is.
Christ.
You did not ask me if I had warrant to believe it. That would be a whole other question. But the concept itself.
Art. I asked you how to falsify it. Are you going to answer or not? Because I do not give a fuck at all about an untestable God.
All right. I'm not going to say anything I haven't said before. I believe it could be falsifiable.
Then you're not going to say anything. You don't get to tell me that you're stopping the conversation and will only repeat yourself and expect to get one more fucking syllable on the show. If you got nothing else to say, you're done. Oh, are you ready for the final caller? I saved it.
I really hope it's better. If I think, have we talked to this caller before together? Who knows? I guess we'll find
I don't know if it was together. We've definitely done it separately. And
I feel like I've had good conversations with Amir before, if I'm remembering correctly.
I feel like I've never, ever had a good conversation with Amir. So let's see how you do.
Maybe it'll be average.
I don't. Amir is a theist who wants to discuss proof or evidence for God. I will only jump in when I disagree with anything that Promise said.
Hello.
Hey, Amir. So what did you? What's your evidence?
I appreciate the compliments. I guess you said good conversations we had.
I think I can't remember. We talked to a lot of people, but we'll find out. We'll start over. Let's see how this conversation goes.
Yeah, the original title of the stream was, I think, if your God is real, give proof. So my question is,
Sure.
How do you guys define proof?
How do we define proof? Well, proof is, there's like an actual definition, which I want to make sure we both,
It doesn't matter. The foundation of sufficient reason is different for different claims, because different claims already have different amounts of evidence to support them. When there's sufficient evidence to warrant belief, I don't care about proof. And if you're going to call in because somebody put a clickbait title that said, "What's your proof?" rather than an actual engagement about what is reasonable and whether or not there's sufficient evidence, you've called the wrong show.
I
just take a good reason.
Wait, because you said evidence. Matt said evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when you go on definitions, the one I have in front of me, proof, defined as evidence.
Right, but so, Amir, I'm going to pause you so that you get a chance to stay on the call. Matt just said we're not going to talk about proof. Just a good reason. If you have a good reason for us, let's hear it. So do you have that or not? If you just want to... It doesn't matter. I don't care. If you have a good reason for us to believe in your God, that's what we want to hear. But if you're just calling in to talk about definitions of words and exactly what was put in the title of the show that I didn't even know what it was because it's been changed since I showed up on the show, then that's not really conducive to a good conversation. We can just let you go. If that's all you wanted to do is call in and talk about the definitions of evidence or proof and the difference and all of those things, that's not going to be a cool conversation. I'm personally, and since I'm the one that's talking to you right now, interested in what's a good reason to believe in a God, if you have one. And if you don't, then that's fine. If you just wanted to talk about definitions, I guess we can be done with the call.
Yeah, I want to only talk about definitions. I think it's reasonable to ask, how do you guys define evidence and how can it apply to God's existence?
Amir, I'm going to tell you again for myself, because that's who you're talking to right now. I don't need to use a specific word. I'm just letting you know, if you give me a good reason to believe something, if you provide me reasons to change my mind, I will, and historically have done so. I have changed my mind many, many times, and I've changed my mind on the position of theism, most notably. So if you have good reasons for me to change my mind back again, I'm happy to hear those.
All right. Can something come from nothing?
I don't think that, and I have no idea.
Yeah. Can we reason through it? You said reason.
Why?
So.
Why would I care? Because if you're going to go through the whole thing of, well, then therefore God, I don't want that. I don't want all these things, and therefore I'm going to fill in this gap with a God, which is called God of the gaps fallacy, then I'm not interested. I want to know reasons to believe, not reasons for, well, it can't be this, and it can't be this, and it can't be this. I don't want that kind of reasoning. I want a reason for believing in a God.
Yeah, that's what we're getting to. But I mean, you're making assumptions about where I'm going. I think that's not gonna help. I mean,
I'm trying to save you time.
The reason why I asked was that.
I'm just trying to save you time.
No, okay, because look, if something cannot come from nothing, then there must mean that something must have always been there.
I don't know what that I don't even know what nothing is. I don't know if something can come from nothing. I have no idea, and I'm not gonna know in this phone call.
Well, but we can reason through it though. So
no, we can't. Are you physicist? Are you? What kind of credentials
You're
do
going
you
to fail,
have?
just like you failed every fucking time you've tried.
No, I'm trying to reason through it. If we define,
you're going to fail
nothing,
just as you're going to fail just as you've done every other time, and just as everybody has done every other time. Is there any way to investigate a nothing?
On that, do you have to investigate nothing to know nothing?
I'm not aware of what a nothing is, and I think that if there was a nothing, it would not be a nothing. Its mere existence would be something. So the very notion that it's possible for there to be nothing is absurd to me.
No, nothing is the absence of something. That's definition.
And
so that's what I want to start with. And if I'm never, I can reason through
it. When was there ever an absence of something?
No, but that's the point. If we have something.
When was there ever an absence of something? When was there ever? Are you ever going to answer the fucking question I've asked? Because we've been down this road a dozen times. When was there ever a nothing?
No, there was never a nothing. There was never a nothing.
I agree. I don't have any reason to think that nothing is possible. So why are you asking if something can come from nothing if there was never nothing?
Thank you. So now can I reason through that, which I was trying to do? So have we made an agreement, though, at least somewhat, that there was never nothing? No. You just agreed with me. You said, yes, I agree. There could have never been nothing.
Christ, Amir, we've already been down this road, and I agreed with you last fucking time. I'm not aware of how there could ever be nothing.
Yeah,
now,
I would say
however, prior to the Planck time, I have no ability to investigate, not directly, not even indirectly, not mathematically. So I have no way of evaluating the state of everything if I cannot explore it. And so I'm disinterested completely in your speculation about things that you cannot investigate, and then the conclusions that you reach about the things that you cannot investigate. It is a monumental waste of fucking time.
We're investigating it logically. That's what we're doing.
I mean,
no,
we've
we're
given
not.
You our answers. I have no, and my answer is I have no idea, and I have no idea how I would even know. So can you move forward with whatever this path you're taking us on instead of just providing the good reason to believe in a God?
Okay, well, I was going to establish, since if something cannot come from nothing, you always must have something. So that'll be the first part of my reasoning.
Fucking Christ. Are you capable of saying anything that isn't a fucking repeat of what you've said just a second ago that I already acknowledged?
No. I'm talking to Promise. Promise says
I've been on the same call and I'm hearing the same things. Can you get to the point?
Yeah. So can we now agree that there must have always been something? Now, if I go to physics, you mentioned physics. Are you a physician? What are your degrees? I don't have a degree in physics, but I did take a couple of courses in university in physics. I've spoken to professors. I don't know if that helps, but one thing we can establish is the first law of thermodynamics does say.
First law of thermodynamics. You did this last time. You tried to do this last time when Jim and I were on here. Are you just going to use the same script every time? Because I'm done debunking the same bullshit script from you.
It wasn't debunked. I was talking to Jim when we were
It was
discussing.
debunked. It was debunked.
It wasn't
Jim
debunked.
already fucking addressed this shit. Do you have a
Right.
different script? Do you have a different script,
What
or are
did
you
Jim
going to
say?
use the same one? Yes or
Hey,
no?
what did Jim say, though? In response, what did Jim say?
I'm not here to repeat shows, dumbass. That's the point.
Why'd you bring him up?
You can go.
Why'd you bring
You
him
can
up?
go watch the call,
Why'd you bring him
Amir.
up then? No. He brought him up, though. Why'd you bring him up, though? I didn't bring up Jim. You did.
Amir,
What did
were
he
you
say?
here on the fucking call? Shut your pie hole. Were you here on the call with Jim?
Yeah, you mentioned Jim. What did you say?
Okay, I'm going to ask you very specific questions, and you're going to get unmuted to say yes or no, and only yes or no. Did you call in and speak to me and Jim last week? Yes or no?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was me.
Yes, just yes or no. Don't add anything else. Yes or fucking no. You got it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
said yes.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
me.
what Jim said?
No, you brought up Jim. I didn't bring him up. Don't do that. That's not fair.
Amir,
But he said,
you're banned. I'm banning you from the show. I've had all from you I can fucking stand. You are a dishonest interlocutor. I'm trying to get you to recognize that you already talked about this with Jim, and you're like, why are you bringing Jim up? I'm bringing it up because we already dealt with this, and I'm not going to have you go down the exact same road again. Do not
said it was
ever
internal.
call me. Shut up. Do not ever call me again. Call somebody else.
said energy
Call
was
Promise on it. Shut up.
Actually, don't call me because I'm remembering now that our conversation didn't go well either and that you did this exact same thing. So I'm not interested in your calls either.
he said energy was eternal. That's the best I could do.
So now I have your website address and your information. Don't ever fucking call me again. Is that clear? Thank you. He hung up, which is fine because
Yeah.
I was definitely getting ready to hang up on him. This is
Well, and
this
now
is
I remember-
incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, which now I think I actually am, Forrest and I talked to him, and it also went very
Yeah.
similarly. And you know, Forrest and I will give calls a lot of time and a lot of chances, and we got absolutely exactly as far as this conversation went, but probably over the course of 45 minutes instead.
Amir calls in and it's the same thing every time. Exactly the same thing every time. And I'm tired of Amir pretending that he's more important than the people who are watching this show who have heard him say the same shit over and over and over again. So Amir, just so you know, we can snip this out just for Amir. Hi, Amir. You're thinking about calling the show. Don't. I already banned you. Can something come from nothing? I have no reason to think that something can come from nothing because I have no reason to think there could ever be nothing. And so, yes, we could agree that as far as we can tell, there was always something. And so there's no need to try to explain something from nothing because there was always something. So then the issue becomes, what is the something? And the answer is, we don't know. We don't have any ability to explore any other universe in a potential metaverse. We don't have any ability to explore our own universe prior to the Planck time, which means the most you can do is speculate. And I'm willing to speculate that the universe merely always existed in some form or another. And now, yes, we would have to have a discussion about what potentially caused the change. However, since the Big Bang cosmology model has time beginning with that, then at least in our local presentation of time, there was no time at which the universe didn't exist, and there was no time at which the universe wasn't expanding. When you start talking about things like time, it gets very counterintuitive very quickly when you start talking about before time, outside of time, just like when you start talking about whether or not something can come from nothing. So as it stands, I'm convinced that the universe probably always existed. If you have another model, you would need to actually demonstrate that your model of a God creating the universe is better,
Right.
and that it's possible and probable. Because when we have a mystery, we list candidate explanations. And you don't get to propose Magic Man done it as a candidate explanation. You don't get to propose some all-powerful being did it as a candidate explanation. You have to show that that candidate explanation deserves to be a candidate. For example, if we find a dead body, we don't get to list Abraham Lincoln as the potential cause for that dead body because Abraham Lincoln is dead. He's no longer a candidate explanation. Now, maybe you're going to say, yes, but there's another person named Abraham Lincoln. You're right. But I was talking about the one that was president, not some other Abraham Lincoln that somebody decided to name their kid. When you have a fire, we have to list candidate explanations. You know what? Sometimes the candidate explanation is leaf cover and wind, friction, lightning, gasoline. You know what's never been demonstrated to be a candidate explanation for fire? God. You know what else has never been able to be demonstrated as a candidate explanation for God? Fairies, angels, demons, chupacabras. None of those have been demonstrated to be candidate explanations for God. So if there's a fire in Los Angeles, we don't get to say, I think that God is a candidate explanation for this, or that chupacabra is a candidate explanation for this. Instead, we deal with reality and we deal with the candidate explanations. When it comes to explaining the origin of the universe, we don't have candidate explanations because we are unable to investigate it. And that's why, listen very closely, Amir, that's why this is exactly where your God lives. Your God only exists when you try to stuff a gap in our knowledge. You have created an unverifiable, untestable, unfalsifiable God to serve as an explanation for something that, first, you cannot show requires an explanation, and second, that you have a candidate explanation, or that candidate is the correct explanation. You have epically failed at every opportunity to demonstrate the thing that you believe in, but what you have demonstrated is that you can read a script and you can assert things that I don't know and that I don't think anybody else knows. So if the worst thing you can say about atheists is that we don't claim to know how and why the Big Bang cosmology model best represents what probably happened, we don't know why it happened. If that's the worst thing you can say, congratulations. Stop pretending that you have answers you don't have. And then you'd be allowed to call back in. Goodbye.
Yeah. That's why I just wanted him to answer, talk like a regular person to me, explain it like I'm 5, and give me a good reason to believe that your God exists. If you have to play out a long, really tired apologist script that all of us here on the line have heard a million times, which is why I interrupted him, because I wanted to save him time and say, let's get to the punchline. Let's go ahead and get there. Because if you have to walk me down this path where I have to agree with all these presuppositions with you, it's a waste of everybody's time. I'd rather just hear because I'm sure that if Amir truly believes in a God, his reason for believing in that God does not start where he started with me. And that's the reason for believing in the God that he believes in. But, oh well.
Yeah. And the script is there. The script is there as if I haven't heard this same script for 20 years.
Right.
It's really easy. Here's the nugget. Here's the order. Hey, can we agree that something can't come from nothing? Sure. Does that mean that we can agree that something always existed? Sure. Can we agree that the universe can't be that something? No, we can't. That is the point.
That's where we depart every time.
Every single time.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot agree that the universe must not be that thing that always existed because we have no ability to investigate it. We have no ability to look at the form it was in. Oh, but there had to be something that caused it. Well, I don't know what that could be. I don't know what may have been, and I don't even know how you can have causality outside of time. But I can tell you that if the model for the universe has time beginning at the instant that expansion started, then there was no time in that model. If you're going to use a Big Bang cosmological model, there is no time where the universe didn't exist in some form within that model. And that means the only question is, why did it expand when it did? The problem is when you ask that question, you're now asking a when question, and it happened whenever it happened. I would use an example from Lost, but I don't want to spoil the ending for people, and it wouldn't be worth it. But let's do some super chats because I'm about to lose my shit.
You want me to take the first one?
Go for it.
$10 from the Raven 200. It's my birthday. I hope y'all have a good one.
Yay.
Jimmy, for my birthday present, go get Locked in the Regal Stretch by William Regal. Then take a package Pale Driver from Kevin Owens. Matt and Promise. Happy birthday.
Yay!
And thank you for the support.
Happy birthday. And here's a follow-up also from him. Before I head out, I want to tell you, beautiful, that you can all go take a Lion Fist and Rasengan combo. I pronounced that wrong, I'm sure. From Naruto and Hinata. Then a Skull and Bones from the Motor City Machine Guns. Yeah, we get wrestling and anime. So it's like Raven 200 is like 43% wrestling, 43% anime. And
And
oh wait,
100% things
so it's
I don't
12%.
know anything about.
It's 14% left over of awesome. Actually, those are awesome too. So it's 100% awesome.
$50 from Coach Frankie. Hey, Promise and Matt, thanks for making us think. I've had my mind changed more than once by this show. I hope my support will help the same happen for others. Thanks so much, Coach.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
support. I had my mind
Aiming
changed
upwards.
by Matt in the past. So here we are, all full circle.
I've had my mind changed a lot of times by most of the people on these shows.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with people who can change my mind. It's incredibly frustrating when somebody doesn't even know why they believe. I get it. For years, I couldn't have told you exactly why I believed with any reason other than, oh, I just experience it, or,
Right.
And when I realized why that's not good enough, and that if there is a God, that God knows that those reasons aren't good enough and is doing absolutely nothing to give any of us a better reason. That was huge.
Yeah.
$10 from Aiming Upwards. As a Christian, it seems to me Jesus would be strongly against dumping illegal immigrants outside the country with nothing and simply would not care about Trump's plan about improving the economy. Here's the problem. Jesus, to whatever extent we have any record of what he did or said, was a little duplicitous in that he had views about compassion, but he also had views that were not particularly compassionate. And he had this render under Caesar that which is Caesar's, and be in this world, but not of this world. And so he had these notions of staying separate and him being separate, and this place is like dirty rags, and none of this will matter. And so it's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask the question today. I think with Christianity, you could make a case for God being A-okay with what's going on or absolutely appalled by what's going on. Because to quote my friend Don Baker, the Bible is the big book of multiple choice. And you can pick the verses to make it say what you want it to say most of the time. You know what you can't make it say? Do not own human beings as property. You can't make the Bible say that because it says the opposite. It's only where it's vague that you can twist it. You're muted.
Wow, I was doing such a good job reading that and everything. And of course, I'm muted every time. $10 from Monkey at Typewriter. Brian's spontaneous vegetarianism. I have a friend that had the same thing after an acid trip. Brains are weird. Sometimes I think I'm lucky mine's been messing with me since childhood. Good show. Yeah, brains are so interesting. It's fascinating. And I feel like we don't give them enough credit when we experience weird things. Why don't we say, oh, my brain did something interesting? Because that's what's happened.
Yeah, there are loads of weird things. $10 from RCD Shane. If Trump regretters want to redeem themselves, they're going to climb out of that deep pit while I throw rocks at them. They knew what they did. No sympathy. Hold them accountable. Hashtag guess I'm bitter. I get it. And I certainly think I'm fine with throwing metaphorical rocks at them on their way out. But I also think that if there's somebody that's stuck in the Trump hole, and they recognize that they've made a mistake and they desperately want out, I think you give them a hand, help them out.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, easy for me to say because I was one of those people and I did need a hand getting out. And it was the people that were kind and compassionate and forgiving toward me that helped me continue changing my mind and building on that progress that I was making. Because that's my concern. I understand the bitterness, but my concern is that I think we're overestimating how educated people are on these opinions they formed about Trump and going and voting. I don't think many of them really did know what they were signing up for. In fact, I think most did not. And we have to remember that. not everybody is trying to be as informed and as involved as some of us are.
Real quickly, Promise was helped out by the people that were compassionate. I was a full-on Rush Limbaugh ditto head. I was helped out by mockery. And it's because at some point, there are things that you value more than other things. Everybody does something stupid. I do stupid stuff all the time. Nobody wants to look stupid. Nobody wants to be perceived and viewed as stupid. It's okay if you understand and know that you're correct and somebody else thinks you're stupid. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding out that you've been monumentally wrong and trying to continue being wrong. And so for some people, a helping hand works. And for somebody else, it's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. For me, it was far more of a threat to be perceived as stupid, as gullible, than it was for me to be perceived as dispassionate. That's me. And because of that, the two of us have slight differences in how we do stuff. And it's why I think both of us are essential. And it's why one of the reasons why I love doing the show with Promise, because I think everything gets better when we're both here. So
yeah, I love it this way. I think that's so true. And and I'll have people come to me, which is really annoying, and say, "Oh, I love how you do things on the line, and I wish Matt would do it that way." I highly disagree. I love that you do things the way that you do, and I like that I do things the way that I do them. So I think it's all of us bringing our different styles. We're talking to other humans who, like you just showed, we all receive things differently, and we need different types of delivery methods. And so I love the differences, and I think it all works well together.
$20 from Aiming Upwards. Biblically, okay. Do you think a person would be saved if they actively put their faith in Jesus based on the evidence that they are wicked and in need of cure, despite any apparent lack of evidence supporting the resurrection? Biblically, yeah. I mean, that's consistent with the theology that I used to hold, which was even if it's true whether or not there's evidence. It's true whether or not you believe it. And that the one difference here is that I don't think actively putting their faith in Jesus is anything that anybody can do, because the Bible has that faith itself is a gift by God's grace, and that God will save who he chooses, and it's not up to you. There's nothing you can do, including saying the sinner's prayer. That is what we would have people do, because if they are sincerely ready to submit to God and God has them as the elect, then the Holy Spirit will move in them and God will grant them by his grace the faith that results in him being allowed or allowing himself to save them. So there's some convoluted stuff there, but face value in the limited space of a super chat, yeah, I think what you're describing is biblical. Just don't think it's true.
$10 from Monkey at Typewriter. Also, everyone wish the Raven 200 a happy birthday and 1,000 years of pain. And I know that our Corvid comrade wants you to lay some love down on that naughty little like button. Love to my chatlings.
True that. Not only is the line of a podcast, but you should click like and subscribe and all the little things down below, because if you're not able to send a super chat, that's fine. Just being here and participating, asking questions, clicking on things, all of that helps. It helps the channel. It helps us reach more people. And I'm going to say $10 from Benjamin Reynolds. That's an incredibly brief note, and I appreciate it. And you.
$10 from Melatonin. Oh, I remember you told me how to say your name. I think it's Ale. I started listening to Star Spangled Jesus. Any tips on what to say when gifting it to... Oh, it's awesome. Any tips on what to say when gifting it to my IBLP Trump supporting sister-in-law to improve the chance she'll actually read it? I don't know. I think she's either going to be curious enough to read it and she will, or not. I would present it to her as, if you're up for it, I would say, I would love for you to read this. In exchange, I'm happy to read a book of your choosing, and then maybe we can talk and compare and contrast notes. I've done that in the past for people. This is just an idea. Maybe you don't want to read whatever book she would offer, but that could be a way to ensure that she does read it. I think mostly you just have to see if she's curious enough. You could tell her it's funny because it is really funny. So it's an entertaining read no matter what. But that's cool that you got that. I hope it goes well.
Hi, Allie. 20 pounds from Herbie Shine. No message. Oh, wait.
Thanks,
See?
Herbie.
And a theist would look at that and say, look, that message is something from nothing.
10 Australian dollars from Heisenberg. Hey guys, there will be a time that we will all cross the Rubicon, but we're not there yet.
$10 more from Benjamin Reynolds. Whoops. Extreme situations require extreme solutions, unfortunately. Yeah. Matt, and promise you both are fighting the good fight. Worship nothing. I certainly am opposed to the concept of worship in general, and worship certainly as an expectation. I don't think anything that could possibly be deserving of worship could ever demand or require it or expect it. And generally, that goes for every agent. To the extent that I could ever worship anything, it would be ideas like truth, like honesty, the principles of humanism, compassion. Those are the things that would be closest to deserving of worship, and none of them require anything like worship, and none of them require worship or even would deserve worship in a religious sense. It's just these are values that are
You're gonna
far
ruin
more
my
deserving.
merch.
Oh,
I think that's what it's in response to my hoodie that I just put out that says worship nothing. But I agree with you in principle when we're kind of like redefining worship. My take on it is the literal like evangelical worship, but there goes Matt just ruined my merch thing. Just kidding.
No. Promise is right. Buy her stuff.
Worship nothing except for truth. I can make a limited edition Matt Dillahunty version in parenthesis, except for truth. What else were you saying? Value, you know.
No, we'd have a list of ideals. It doesn't matter. They're not.
Yeah,
it's not worship in a religious sense. It's just, it's just reverence. I guess is better than worship.
Yeah. Also, as we've talked about tonight, nothing isn't a thing. So $10 from Overcast. Would not a general strike be the action that we, the workforce, could enact change without violence?
Yeah.
If people would get organized.
The problem is there are people who aren't going to do that. And the wealthy who own and control everything will just pay the ones who will to make sure that they and theirs are taken care of while the rest of us starve. But yes, it reminds me, Overcast, it's really frustrating listening to, there was a call that Forrest and maybe it was Paul were having with someone who was trying to argue there was no option except slavery for those people in antiquity. And I'm like, and Forrest finally got around to the point of, I say finally, not that he was meandering, but it's a long discussion. Hey, you could have them work for you and give them a portion of what they actually do. Exactly. If somebody's poor, you don't get to make them slaves and say that's the only option. You can just give them a fucking job. And when they tried to suggest that, the caller was like, well, they didn't have money back then, which is an absolute lie. And it's irrelevant because even before there was money, people were able to work and be compensated without being slaves. So this tap dance that people do to try to find, the Bible is a disgusting, immoral book that sanctions slavery, period, full stop, not debatable, even though we've debated it many times. When the Bible says if a man lies with a man as he lies with a woman, they've committed an abomination or deserving of death, that's kind of an unequivocal statement that at least male-on-male homosexual acts are deserving of death. It's not really a way to spin that. And when the Bible says you shall buy your heathen you shall buy your slaves from the heathen that surround you, and gives you permission to beat them. I've gone down this road 100 times on this show at least. So yeah, Overcast, that's a possibility. I just don't know how good it is.
And the next gross thing is that the Bible still has people in 2025 defending, oh, slavery was different and all, it's just the path it takes people down is so gross.
Right?
Is this one you?
Oh, yeah. $10 for Mr. Boricua. What a madhouse of crazy. Is there an end in sight? Rhetorical, but damn it if I'm not tired. I might be pissed enough to run for office against my current boss in a few years. I have stage fright.
Nice.
I always said I wouldn't run for office because there's no way in hell I could get elected. And I still think that's true. But quite honestly, looking at all the people who are now in office and
cabinet members.
See, I'm also not qualified, but I'm more qualified than anybody Trump's appointed to any position anywhere in the government. Almost. I think Marco Rubio, despite the fact that we disagree politically, is certainly more qualified to be Secretary of State than I am. Doesn't mean I want him doing the job, but I'd be better at SecDef than Hegseth. If for no other reason than I would be sober and I would support equality and listen to the generals and not pretend that I would answer questions when the Senate. That's why I'd never get confirmed. I would actually answer questions.
$10 from Mikey, a typewriter. I'm almost 40, and in my life, I've felt progressively further from understanding my species, which with each year, I move further from understanding, but it's hard to believe the problem is everyone else.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Are you a Swiftie?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yes,
But
Matt loves all the pop girlies.
Oh, I'm...
What? We
So
could have
the
been
whole
bonding over this.
Oh, the whole "you're gay homie" thing is extra funny for me because Arden and I both worship at the altar to the extent that we're going to worship anything of Chapel Roan. I won't worship her, but she is
Absolutely.
God. Chapel Roan is God.
Wow.
And right up there, Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift,
Of course.
Kelly Clarkson is the greatest singer that's ever lived. I
Her
do a
first
lot.
album, Chef's
I'm
Kiss.
obsessed with
Perfect.
music. I'm obsessed with
I don't
music. All
know.
my downtime that's not snakes is about watching talented people, music, dance, art, magic, all of those
Wow.
things. Ask Garden. It's 80% of what I watch on YouTube every single day. And the rest is
That's
funny stuff.
amazing. Well, now I'm going to start annoying you by sending you things that I am also watching in the
I
same
listened to and thoroughly enjoyed your album as well.
Oh, thank you.
We
We're
also listen
about
to Ethel Kane because of you. Because you post about her all the time.
yay! Yes, I love
I-
Ethel Kane so much.
I'm not as sold on Ethel Kane yet, in part
Okay.
because she confuses me with this, where she's at on her religious journey. Just,
Who knows?
I can't get out of debate mode long enough to really love what she's doing. But if I ignore the lyrics, from what I've heard, I really like her.
Yeah. Go see her live and then you'll be fully sold.
$10 for Mr. Boricua. Well, a couple of years later, if we still exist as a society, much less a country, I question my efforts of sauntering, though. Very draining. My solace will be family, friends, books, and music. Find yours. Yep, that's exactly what I was just talking about. That's where we watch stuff, and I'm you're going to find me watching talent show stuff, Rick Beato, music theory, people, Billy Strings. I love so much in so many different. If it's fucking crazy talent, is it Kent Nashimura? A number of different guitarists that just blow my mind. I'm a junkie for talent.
I love that. I've been finding solace in playing Population 1 on my Meta headset. So then I just walk around the house like with these rings around my face because that's how I've been coping. $10 from Jamie M. I try not to let it overwhelm me when I'm scared. This is surreal. I'm just struggling to and financially. I wonder if the people in the Hicks felt this way. Well, you're not alone in feeling that way, first of all, currently. And yeah, history keeps repeating itself as we see. Unfortunately,
Here's
I'm so
something.
sorry you're dealing with that.
Here's something for all the United States citizens that I called out at the beginning for being spoiled and unaware of the real hardships surrounding war. If a civil war breaks out in the United States of America, when it's over, what do you own and what do you owe and how do you tell? If the government falls, if the banking system falls, who's to declare who owns anything? Who owns the mortgage on your house? Who owns the property that you live in? Who owns your vehicle? Who is it? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Are you going to have to fight for everything? Are we going to go back to, is my neighborhood going to get rid of the homeowners association and actually just create a little militia here to protect us from the people who live across the road? If you haven't thought about those things, you're in the position I've talked about. And while all of us hope that nothing like that happens, we no longer have the privilege of ignoring it as a possibility. $20 from Sarah Christine. Hang in there, Matt. You'll need it more than you know, now more than ever. I'm hanging. I'm doing my best. I've been playing a lot of video games for the last month, and it's been very helpful.
That's the coping mechanism right there. $10 from Stop Hate. Matt, awesome show as always, and I can't quit laughing at these people. You guys kick ass. Yeah, it is funny and sad at the same time.
$20 from some symbols and angelics. I'm an 18-year-old girl with the fate of my future in the hands of your generation. You give me hope. Much love from Iowa. Let me tell you, it's in your hands too. And it's in your hands more than it's in mine.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you are now able to vote. And I could drop dead any second. The likelihood that I'm not going to make it 20 years is much higher than that you're not going to make it 20 years. But I'm just here to try to give some benefit to what I've learned and point you to people who are smarter than me, smarter than you, who know better ways to do stuff in hopes of inspiring you to not be like I was when I was 18. Because while I went in the military when I was 18, I was a clueless, sheltered Christian kid that didn't know fuck all about anything. When I traveled the world in the United States Navy, I can't even begin to describe the way everything went from small to way too big in the span of a minute. And having to interact with people with different beliefs, different values, different work ethics, different sexuality, different genders, different everything, apart from just the tiny little narrow understanding that I had when I was 18. I want you to have a chance to do better than I did and not wait until you're 30 something to start giving a fuck and 40 something to start voting. I was under 40 when I started voting, but pretty close. Participate, because it won't be long and you're going to have to take care of me, which really sucks to think about. Sorry, Arden.
$20 from Benjamin Reynolds. Another point question. I hope both of you will honestly listen and read Immortal Technique, Ultimas Palabras. Remember, we might not run America, but we make America run.
Give me a second. I'm going to type that in. There we go. Immortal Technique is an American rapper.
Got it.
You're telling me to listen to a rapper? Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Eminem's the greatest poet of the 21st century here, but I'm
just
weird.
surprised I haven't heard of that rapper. $10 from PT Colin. Heavy music has helped me dissociate from all the awful news lately. There's nothing more therapeutic than nasty riffage, blast beats, disgusting gutturals, and crushing breakdowns. I hear you.
And I'm not, I mean, there's plenty of music that I like. I'm not a metal guy, but I've heard some metal that I really like.
Yeah, same.
I like lots of country, but there's some country that I absolutely hate. I'm more a singer-songwriter, folk, whatever. But yeah, if it's good, I don't care what category somebody else put it in. If it resonates with me, it's my music.
I love that.
$10 from Older T Malcontent. Give me coffee to help change the things I can, and beer to handle the things I can't. I'm not sure that's a good motto for people with substance abuse problems, and for me because I hate coffee, but I appreciate the sentiment for sure.
$100
Wow.
from Rick. Thanks, Rick. I don't know what to think anymore. What's happening is surreal, to say the least. Sad, discouraging, and terrifying. I guess this donation is a desperate little be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you so much for the work you do. Thank you, Rick, for supporting us, and everybody that's been watching, liking, and all the different ways you've been supporting the show. It helps us literally keep things going. So
I just found out that my healthcare insurance premium went up again. It's gone up every year for the last couple of years, and now it's $1,090 a month. And that's in addition to everything I pay for all of the prescriptions, and if I have to go to, co-pays for things like that. But at least I'm covered. If my heart attack had happened a year earlier, I'd be dead right now, or bankrupt, because the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical debt in the United States. People are homeless because of medical debt. And I have family members who think that homeless people are just lazy. And I'm sure there's some lazy homeless person out there somewhere. I'm sure there's somebody that just doesn't want to be a part of society. I'm sure there's somebody out there asking for money who doesn't need it. But let's not pretend that the outliers are the norm. And if there's one thing to take away from secular humanism, it's that in every circumstance, we're still talking about humans. And so if there's a tiny percent of the population, you don't get to dismiss them. You don't get to say, ooh, trans people are 1% of the society. We can just forget about their rights. Ooh, left-handed people are largely irrelevant. Ooh, bald people. Fuck those people. Oh, we should be looking out for each other to the extent that we can, because A, it's the right thing to do. And even if it weren't clear that it's the right thing to do, it's because from a game theory perspective, that's exactly how you make sure that you are going to be taken care of when you can't do it. The only thing that keeps me from being homeless is luck. The only reason I'm not one of those people on the street is just the circumstances of reality. Nothing in me made that not my situation. Maybe I understand forced nihilism more than I thought.
I was about to say, sounds like you're on that page.
We're in agreement. I just don't like the label because it carries other baggage.
Yeah, I hear you. $15 Canadian from Quantum Chaos. I saw True Nothingness once, September 2007. I took an absolutely massive rip of salvia, and the sky ripped open, and there was nothing, dude. There was nothing. And I was just like, whoa, dude. That's how some of the calls tonight felt. For sure.
I did salvia once. It used to be legal here in Texas, and you could get it at Planet K and other head shops. And I didn't even have a bong because weed's not legal here, and I didn't like to smoke anyway. So I bought a bong and one thing of salvia. I sat down on the edge of my bed in the apartment, took one big rip, and set the bong down, fell over backwards onto the bed, and didn't move for about 10 or 15 minutes of really wild tripping. And I would put it, like visual hallucination, I would put it not quite on par with like acid, but somewhere between like, it's something higher than like microdosing shrooms or whatever. But from the standpoint of, was it enjoyable? Fuck no. Salvia was debilitating. Like I couldn't move. It was crushing. And yeah, that was the last time I ever did that.
That's why I haven't tried drugs. That terrifies me. I would be that person that goes viral for being on the phone with the ER that's like, I'm dying, for sure, because my anxiety can't barely handle taking an ibuprofen. So $9.99 from I Am the Darkness. Matt, please tell me about the end of Lost. I've watched it twice. I promise. Thanks, Matt. Hi. You know what's funny? I haven't watched the end of Lost. I've started it and I've meant to finish the last season, but I haven't.
If you want, I might do a spoiler type video on it. There's something about timelessness that is relevant at some point. And it's easier for me to just do an analogy and put a video out somewhere else. But thanks so much. I Am the Darkness. Melatonale, you got it right, promise. Matt, you def have 2 votes for me and my husband in any country, race, or otherwise. Thanks. I hope we see you again soon. We're doing another Reptile Expo this weekend, but I don't expect, we'll be in Corpus, but I don't know that we'll see you there. But
I liked that hashtag
take care.
Too. 10 euros from the Spit 4201. Isn't believing in God the same as a North Korean believing that birds sang and the sun shined when the dear leader was born with zero evidence? You just believe it because. Yes? That seems to be a lot of people's reasoning. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, the hashtag with Team Voice of God Arden.
Yeah.
But I'm on that team all the time, whether I'm on the show or not. $10 from Beazle. Happy Year of the Snakes. It is the Year of the Snake.
Actually, I have my, wait. Oh, I'm going the wrong way with it. There's mine. My little snake.
Yay.
$20 from Roger Wenzel. As a really, really old atheist, I'm profoundly saddened by the course the country is on. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing us back down. I'm just kidding, Roger. It's if I don't joke, I'll cry.
Yeah. Yep.
$10 from Jamie M. The thought of an apocalyptic event has always been a part of my thought processes. I just never actually prepared. Yeah, that's the other thing, is the people who prepped for the possible worst are the people who are bringing about the worst. It's not the hippies, the, peace, love. Those people don't have guns and an underground shelter loaded with food. All the people who watch Walking Dead and whatever zombie apocalypse, that'd never happen. The zombie part probably might not, but I don't know. It's not reptilian aliens that have taken over the government. It's near zombies.
Yeah. Yep. $10 from Jared Bear Fuller. Breaking from ABC News. Multiple casualties after regional jet crashes into river near DC airport. I guess I wouldn't have seen that because we've been on here.
Okay. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too.
Reagan National Airport is closed, listed as a national emergency. All takeoffs and landings have been halted at DCA. Emergency personnel responding to an aircraft incident on the airfield. The terminals remain open. This is a developing story as of 12 minutes ago, 18 minutes ago. It's a small aircraft crashes into the Potomac River. That's happened before.
Yeah. Yep.
This is from WTOP News. A small aircraft crashed near Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia on Wednesday night. In a post on XDC, Fire and EMS said a small aircraft in the vicinity of the airport had crashed into the Potomac around 9 p.m. Federal Aviation Administration confirmed the incident involved a helicopter. Footage from an observation camera at the Kennedy Center captured the moment in which two sets of lights consistent with an aircraft appeared to explode. I've got there's about a 20-second clip that is hitting Twitter. It looks like yep, that's an explosion. Whew. So thanks for the update. Obviously, I don't know any more than what I just read right now, but this may not have anything to do with who's president or what the state of things are. This may not have anything to do with anything. It could just be one of many different accidents that take place in here. It may or may not be tied to reduction in government funding. It may or may not be tied to transitions of power. So don't leap to any conclusions. Don't make statements beyond what we are hearing, and note that we are stating what we're hearing. When I see footage and I'm like, yes, that appears to be an explosion. I will update if I hear anything new. But yeah, I would imagine it's unlikely there are many survivors given what I just saw, but I hope I'm wrong. 789. Oh, I said 789 because that's why 6 was afraid of 7, because 789. Any advice to a trans man dealing with transphobes at work? Yes. My best bit of advice is for you to call into the Transatlantic Call-In show when Dr. Ben is on to see what Dr. Ben might suggest.
Yeah.
And
which is tomorrow, right?
Maybe.
Correct.
Oh, the voice of God, Arden, has said correct. So, while I appreciate you asking, Brandon, I wish you all the best. I'm not even sure how I'm in a privileged position where I get to deal with transphobes in a different way than a lot of trans people do. And I will continue to do that in part because they can't. And so every cis person out there that really wants to be supportive of trans folks or people of color or women or pick your minority group. If you're ever hanging out with people who aren't in that group and they tell a racist joke, they tell a sexist joke, they tell a bigoted joke that smacks at whatever that group is, call them out. You don't have to get in their face. You don't have to be awful. You can just be like, dude, that's racist. Dude, that's hateful. Dude, that's bigoted. Why are you mocking marginalized groups?
Yeah, just ask what's the joke.
Yeah, why is that funny?
Right.
And if it's not a joke, if they're actively being like, I hate these T slurs or these F slurs or whatever, every person who's not a member of that marginalized group but cares about those groups, which should be all of us, call them out. In the same way that saying, oh, it's just a joke isn't an excuse, neither is it's just a prank, or fuck those people, I'm a bigot. At least that person acknowledges it. I don't have more respect for them as a person across the board, but I at least have more respect for their honesty. If they're like, yep, I'm terrified of and hate people who are different from me. Cool. I'm sorry that your brain and your heart are broken. My heart breaks for you too. But take notes, document what happens, and when and if there is a safe way to report it where you're not going to make things worse for yourself, do that. And if you can get a cis ally at your place of employment, have them report it for you. If Arden and I worked together and there was someone who was problematic to her at work, even if we weren't dating, if she or anybody else came to me, I would do it on their behalf. That is what I think our job is. If you're the beneficiary of 12 tons of privilege, to the extent that you should be judged for anything, you should be judged for how you use that privilege. If you're a billionaire and people are of the view, like I am, that being a billionaire on its own is potentially grossly immoral, what you do with that billion is what matters. Taylor Swift's a billionaire, proud of her. Hope she gives a lot of it away. And she is giving a lot of it away. She's giving it away, but not fast enough to not be a billionaire. But I also think that there's a benefit to having her as a billionaire, because it changes the perception of billionaire. And it shouldn't be a dollar amount. I mean, you could be a billionaire in some currency where $1 billion of their dollars is worth 12 of ours. That's just the thing. It's about hoarding wealth. And if you are hoarding wealth or hoarding privilege, you are a monster in some regard. If you have wealth beyond your need and privilege beyond sustaining your life, it is your duty, in my view, to use that wealth and privilege to help the people who don't have that. You're free to disagree, but you're wrong. You're muted.
Every time, sorry. Try to be polite by
Not
muting
every time.
myself, and then I ruin just enough. $10 from Dark Silver Cloud. I know a lot of us are separated by hundreds and hundreds of miles. I know a lot of us feel isolated, but we're still here together. We're not as alone as the fascists want us to believe. Keep fighting.
Amen. $100, oh my gosh, from Benjamin Reynolds. You honestly didn't say Immortal Technique was just a rapper. Please listen, read the lyrics of Ultimas Palabras. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to write it down and I'm going to add it to my playlist to listen to this week.
Okie doke.
1999 from Kayla Albertson. Matt, have you tried the Good RX app? It gives discounts on prescriptions. For example, my med that is $600 plus after insurance for 30 days, Good RX gets it to 120-ish. Then I use my HSA card. I use Good RX.
I actually currently use multiple different pharmacies. I use Alto, and a number of my prescriptions are like $5. There are some that are more expensive. And if he undoes the Biden administration reductions on insulin and insulin adjacent products, I will just have to stop. I can't afford $1,800 a month in addition to healthcare to pay for the drug that's keeping me from being insulin dependent all day, every day. But yeah, worst case, I could probably walk over to the VA hospital and just fall down in the lobby and they would take care of me. I'd like to think that being a vet should at least get me that level of treatment. But thanks so much, Kayla.
By the way, CNN is now reporting that it was an American Airlines jet that crashed midair with a Black Hawk chopper.
Wow, because the first report said private plane. This is why you wait, because we're going to get more information. Yeah. Wow, in that case, wow. Yeah, I wish I had something to say besides wow, but I don't. We got to get more information. $20 from Bob McCracken. Now all I can think of is Ernie McCracken from Oh, what's the movie? It's the bowling movie with Woody Harrelson. Is it
I've seen
Kingpin?
like 5 movies, so sounds right to me.
5? Okay. Matt,
More
as a
than
fellow vet,
5,
I love
but
seeing you. I love seeing you go off on the assets at call. I knew I recognized the attitude. Love the work y'all do. Thanks so much, Bob. And the final super chat of today, which I'm sure somebody will make not the final super chat, except that they'd have to do it while Promise is reading it, and there's not much to read. So
$9.99 from Squidward Q Sagan. Thank you, Squidward.
on that note, thanks everybody again for making Wednesday. When I talk about how every day I wake up trying to figure out, do I want to stop? It's effort, but you guys make it really easy for me to say, yeah. Like if you'd asked me 4 hours ago, hey, do you really want to do tonight's show? I'm like, no, my back
Not really.
hurts. I know it's going to be some of the same calls. I don't have answers. I don't have solutions to the problem. And then as I'm sitting here, it's like, yeah, but I get to do the show with Promise, and Arden's going to produce, and there's going to be awesome people in chat, and I'm going to get to vent, and I will have this therapeutic response from the people who are here, who are similarly positioned and similarly frustrated. The folks here at the line, both on the network and in our community, are amazing. And unless something else stops me or I just die, I'm going to keep finding a way to say yes every time. But Promise, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
We all adore you, and everything's better when you're here. Huge thank you to our call screener, all of our moderators, and to the lovely and talented voice of God, Arden, right down the hall. You should go to linemerch.com. You can go to patreon.com/call-the-line. You can like and subscribe here on YouTube. You can click all the things to help support us and make all this better. And the second any of us come up with a solution to fix the world, you'll be the first to know, but only if you like, subscribe, and go to patreon.com/